McDonald out of the back line. I thought Thompson was fantastic all day down the back half, and that way Cunnington in and under the pack. Great run, great outside work from Gibson and Greenwood, and they just run over the top of them. And I don't know what the factors we'll hear about it, but how often do we hear? You can laud about how good Port Adelaide were, and they were brave today, but they were out on their feet, and you just come to wonder, is this true about this the showdown curse that you come back after it, you just can't seem to be able to do it? Because it was about the only thing we were able to talk positive in the start. They had plenty of the footy and everything like that. They got the ball inside and everything like that, but they just couldn't do it. And then I thought they're going to get a chance against the flow when Harvey kicked the goal and North had been in front. Broadbent, the ball was squared to him. He was a great player for them all day. I thought Broadbent, he's kicked the most magnificent goal. Then Del Santo breaks through, squares up the ball into Patch Adams, runs around the side and kicks it. And then wouldn't you know it, put the icing on the cake, the boomer. The old man, he's great. He nearly tripped over his grey beard from around about 50. He's gone back and he's nailed it 26 minutes into the last quarter when he should have been home in bed. And it was a fantastic finish and a great victory by the Roos.
Can he go again? I mean, this season obviously is very early days, but you'd have to say, Scotty, the way he's going, 400's a big chance.
Well,
365 today.
Well, he lost none of his pace, and I think that's part of why players retire. It's been one of his major strengths throughout his career, his goal smarts, his ability to be able to beat his direct opponent through just sheer will, and we're just not seeing any of that disappear out of his game. So, look, the way he's going, it'd be like Dustin Fletcher and playing with his son. He's going to play that many years, but he's just a tremendous player, and I think, look, when you've got a player like that within your club, you hold on to him as long as you can, and I think he still enjoys the game and the contest, so as long as he does that, I think he plays.
Joe Sullivan's down in the North Rooms. Joe, tell us about the atmosphere.
It's electric, and they're just about to launch into the song. James Brayshaw was given high fives. Here we go. So very, very jubilant North Melbourne side. Plenty of supporters in the room, as I mentioned, just as they went into the song. James Brayshaw, the club president, went around, he high-fived and gave hugs and kisses. So, like I said, very, very jubilant in North Melbourne. A remarkable victory.
Thanks, Joe. We'll get down there again shortly. And Port Adelaide to be a bit disappointed. It's been a good start to the year, but for the first time in a long time, they haven't been able to overrun a team, and that's an area that Ken Hinkley will be wanting to address.
And for the first time, North haven't lost a close one.
No, that's right.
So, so it was a fantastic performance. Look, it was, I've got to tell you, it's the first time this year I've got excited to game of footy. I would love it. I loved it, and you only you only say that when both sides give you something. Valiant and game losers, Port Adelaide. They had their chances, but North Melbourne, very, very worthy winners, and a very, very good. It was a great game of football. I love the way that both sides, they played a lot of tough footy, but they took each other on, and there was some really fantastic ball movement, some great exhibitions of the skills of our game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Port will rue the fact that they got the ball inside 50 more than their opponents, 57 to 51. But their shots for goal, 4 times they hit the post. And you lose a game by 7 points, 2 of those go through, you win the game.
Mind you, North had all those behinds, didn't they? I mean, the game changed when they got, almost 4 goals down.
Yep.
And then North Melbourne just found a way in that third quarter, but they couldn't kick the goals. They kept kicking behinds. They hit the post a couple of times.
Well, I think
themselves.
the Jew boys just said the only ones who were kicking were the defenders. And after those 4 goals, I mean, the only goal that was kicked in that quarter after the 15-minute mark when Wynyard kicked for the 4th in a row was Thompson coming down from the fullback the 22-minute mark. But North, still to their credit, just kept at him and kept at him. And they got some terrific run and carry, and they started to do things that we hadn't seen the last few weeks. They were played very static, stop-start football. But today it wasn't. Today they took them on. Today this was the North Melbourne side that we've come to appreciate, and one of the reasons why they were a good side and were a final side and we expect to go on this year is because they can play that brand of footy.
We've only got a few minutes because we're heading off to Essendon and Carlton, but Joe Sullivan's been good enough to get Nick Del Santo. Away you go, Joe.
Nick Del Santo, what an amazing win for North Melbourne. They've the club's managed to do to Port Adelaide what it's threatened to do to other clubs so far in season 2014, beat them in the last quarter.
Yeah, I mean, we'd heard a lot about their ability to run, and particularly in the last quarters, and I think they have been fantastic in the first 2 weeks and during the NAB Cup, but I mean, we backed ourselves in as well. I haven't had a pre-season as hard and as long as we had at North Melbourne this pre-season, so if we're not fit, then I don't think anybody was. So we try to back ourselves in and go head-to-head with them in that part of the game.
One more from me before we head upstairs, but when the power surged in the third quarter, I think they were by about 15 points. What were the messages that were going out?
Well, the only message was keep playing the way that we were in probably the first three quarters. I thought we were actually playing pretty good footy, and similar to last week, we just weren't getting a lot of reward out of it, and we weren't scoring a lot. So I don't know if we need to readdress that or just have a look at it, because I feel like we've been in control of the game in patches and just probably haven't got a lot out of it. And I felt that in the third as well. We probably used 2 or 3 shots from the top of the goal scorer, it felt like, in about a 5-minute period. But I thought we were actually playing pretty decent footy and we didn't need to do too much different, and it was nice to be able to run out that way.
Boys, Nick Del Santo, it's all yours.
Nick, well done, mate. Westy in the box here. It just ebbed and flowed, the momentum of the game, but you just seemed to have a lot of opportunities late in that third quarter, and you just didn't capitalise. You hit the post, you just missed opportunities. But obviously then early in the last quarter, you just continued your momentum and were able to score goals.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's probably how it felt when you're out there. I mean, you can get feelings within games, when you feel like you're controlling the ball or when you're under the pump, and I think towards the end of the third quarter, we're under the pump, and we sort of had to just get out of our defensive 50 about 5 times in a row, and then I think they eventually did kick a goal, but I think, it was actually just a really solid game and a great way to work through it. And particularly, I'm obviously new to the club, but after last year, the way that, we lost some really close games and the way that Port's overrun some teams in the last quarter. So it's just a great way to win the game.
Nick, the other thing that probably impressed me watching last week's game, I thought that it looked as if there was a little bit of, hesitance amongst the whole team as to really take them on. I thought we saw the spark in the last term last week. And today I liked the fact that under pressure, there was the run and dare and carry, and it came from the defence. You were prepared to give it to other people and take them on. I thought that was very positive.
Yeah, well, that's probably a natural game, and I think it's probably a good observation to say that we've been a little bit hesitant, and we have been, I think. And when we are hesitant, we don't actually play the way that we want to. And to be able to run through, and the one of Atley's springs to mind off half-backer, I think he got it back about 3 times. And just those abilities to break the line is rare, and that's why those guys are fantastic for us there, and it opens the game up for us and gives our forwards a really good opportunity.
Well played, Nick. You've had a great start at your new club. Congratulations.
Thanks,
great
boys. Appreciate it.
Nick Del Santo in the Kangaroos rooms after they overran Port Adelaide 14-13 97 to 13-12 90. We're heading off to the MCG as this round will end with a night match between Essendon and Carlton. Westy, we've got some votes for the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely. I gave 1 vote to Broadbent from Port Adelaide. I thought he was terrific. I know he was loose behind the ball, but you've got to be able to play that role and be smart enough to know where to run. And he did that, kicked a really good goal late in the game to keep him in contention. So he got 1 vote. 2 to Greenwood. Look, last week was a sub, took his opportunity, did it that well. I thought he might have got the sub vest again, but got his start today, and I thought he was terrific winning the football all day. And 3 to Gibson. Look, I've been lucky enough to have a little bit of involvement. A terrific example of perseverance. Drafted older, but just taking all the chances that come to him. His work rate's unbelievable, and I thought he was the best player on the ground today.
So 3 to Gibson, 2 to Greenwood, 1 to Broadbent of Port Adelaide. Gibson hasn't missed a game since coming into the North Melbourne side 38 matches ago. Thanks, boys. Good game of footy earlier today. GWS beat Melbourne by 32 points to have 2 wins from 3 matches. The boys will keep updating the Women's T20 World Cup cricket final. England 1 for 38 after 6 overs. And in the A-League, Sydney FC 4, Wellington 1. It's been a magnificent day's footy so far. May it continue this evening with the big match between Essendon and Carlton. The Blues yet to open their account. The Bombers, they've won 1 and had 1 narrow loss last week. And as Jared said, we'll be interested to find out what sort of crowd we get. And that big match getting underway shortly. Enjoy the rest of your night on Grandstand. North Melbourne beating Port Adelaide by 7 points. Thanks to Ronnie too for pressing the buttons. Welcome back, mate.
Francis Leach.
ABC Grandstand Digital Breakfast for a comprehensive look at sport.
It was pretty tough to watch that first 2 quarters of that game. It only produced 4 goals.
Hear from the players, the coaches, and the people in the know.
Talk AFL football next up on Grandstand Breakfast. Adam Ramanaska is part of the ABC Grandstand team to assess the weekend's action.
If it's comprehensive sports coverage and music you're after, tune in from Friday to Monday every week on digital radio ABC Grandstand, streaming online and on your mobile. Coming to you live on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Grandstand Digital.
100% pure footy.
Pure footy. Grandstand AFL.
Wastes no time, turns and kicks inside the attacking 50. Turns and dribbles round another goal. Head ball bounces 40 metres out. He should bounce again. Doesn't have to bother. Goal. One of the highlights of the day. Reaches over the top. Palms down. He's 65 out. Launches very long. Oh, that's an unbelievable goal.
AFL.
Trying to spin his way through. Failed. Gets hold of it. He had a breath of space. He didn't waste it.
100% pure footy.
Pure footy.
No one between him and the goals is there. He barrels a long goal. He doesn't wait for the whistle. Plays on. Goes for goal and kicks a beauty from 40 metres out. Off the step, kicks across the body and drills the goal. Gets towards goal. Swings it in for the winner. He can wheel around and just stroll in and kick a major. He's from 60. He's whacked it on a path to goal and carried the journey.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Grandstand Digital.
It's the last game to complete round 3. It's the traditional blockbuster at the MCG, and it is in the pioneering slot of Sunday night footy, which goes on trial itself. Essendon and Carlton. Well, they do know how to play a thriller. Twice last year, 1 kick games, both fell Essendon's way. The Bombers bring the superior form, having run Hawthorn to the death in round 2. Carlton hasn't opened its account, and their fans will have gathered today with memories of last week seared into their minds as to how they didn't get home over the top of Richmond. On Grandstand AFL, it's Essendon and Carlton. Gerard Waitley with you, and Adam White is with me. Hello, Whitey.
Hi, Jared. I've been living here at the MCG over the last 3 or 4 nights. Looking forward to tonight particularly, just to see how Essendon goes dealing with the expectation of expecting to win against a team that is Carlton, that they do tend to struggle against over the last 5 or 6 years. There's always tension when these two teams meet. Carlton they're almost playing for their lives tonight, the Blues, so we know that they're going to be desperate, but from an Essendon point of view, I think we'll find a little bit more about how good they're going to be in 2014.
The team news: Patrick Ambrose, the late withdrawal for the Bombers, and Jake Melcham takes his place. Martin Gleeson is the sub, so there's a debutant in the lineup, Jason Ashby, and for the Blues, Tom Bell is the sub. They are as selected, so Brock McLean lost his place from last week, and we'll watch on as this unfolds. Adam Ramanauskas is in place. Rama, welcome.
Yes, thank you. And look, to follow on from Whitey, there's always tension between these two clubs because they genuinely hate each other.
Yes.
So, and that's fact. And I've been fortunate enough to be involved in a few of these games. So, but look, tonight it's almost irrelevant where these two teams are on the ladder. They always tend to produce great games of football, as what has been evident over the last couple of years. Carlton, they're under a lot of pressure. A lot of people are now starting to really, really question where they're at as a football club. And probably not so much where they're at, but where they're going. And I think that's what no one can actually see yet, is where the actual Carlton Football Club are going and what is the plan. I think once people can start to see that plan and what Mick is trying to implement, I think people will become a lot more confident. On the other hand, with Essendon, well, look, I think everyone made a bit more of last week's defeat than what it should have been. Essendon were really poor in the first half, really poor. They played a really good third quarter and probably should have won the game in the end. But the facts are they didn't. So, again, to me, that's about maturity. A good maturing side win those games. Last week they didn't. So tonight they come into a game expecting to win this game, and they need to win it. They need to win this game, obviously, to keep in contact with that leading group of teams, because a lot of people are now expecting them to be potentially top 6, potentially top 4.
Special guest expert with us tonight on Grandstand AFL, Steve Johnson, Cats star. Hello, Stevie.
G'day, Jared. It's good to be here.
Ram has set it up well. A bit of good, honest hatred between two teams. That'll be good sport.
Yeah, it'll be good to see. A lot of pressure on both sides tonight. Carlton has been under the microscope. When you lose games of footy early in the season, the pressure comes on, and whether it be Mick's not talking to the media enough or Bryce Gibbs hasn't signed his contract, everything just seems to escalate. And as Rama said, the pressure's right on them, and they're coming up against a real form side of the competition in Essendon, who lost to Hawthorn, but you've just seen how well they're going.
Well, we're 5 minutes away from the opening siren, so we might let the two of you go at it and give us a few pointers as to what we're looking forward to, what we look out for, and how the likely outcome shapes.
Yeah, well, I think with Essendon, we've seen over the first couple of weeks of the season that they like to possess the footy. They like to use their skills. They've got some great ball users in Goddard, Heppel, Stanton, Chapman and Zaharakis. They like to get their hands in those guys and let them kick the ball. They've been taking 80 more marks than the opposition the first couple of weeks. Had a lot more disposals. They've had plus 128 disposals on average. And that's going to be the question of whether Carlton can stop that. I think Carlton have been allowing a lot of marks to the opposition. I think about 36 extra the first couple of weeks of the season. And if they allow Essendon too much time and space, they'll just cut them apart. So it's up to the likes of Murphy and Thomas and those guys, along with Yaron and Gartland, to apply that pressure and hopefully create a lot of turnovers and score on the back of them.
Well, you look at 12 and 15 goals for Essendon in the first two rounds, and the number of possessions they've had suggests they should be scoring a lot more heavily. Now, I've spoken about this earlier through the week with somebody else, and the concern for Essendon is getting that football inside their forward 50. Now, I don't think they've got enough confidence going inside 50 yet, going to Danaher, going to Carlisle. Carlisle's going to have to play a lot more in the ruck tonight with Paddy Ryder not coming up from that ankle injury. But possessing the football a lot through the middle of the ground, as Jono would know at the MCG, is really dangerous. You turn it over and it's down that other end of the ground really, really quickly. So Essendon need to, trust their skills, but I think they need to give their forwards a lot more looks. They bring back in Jason Winderlich tonight, who's really critical to Essendon's lineup because he's creative. He's another creative forward that will probably take a little bit of pressure off Paul Chapman, who's been really good in the first two rounds for the Bombers. The Bombers' strength is their defence. Dustin Fletcher, again, I don't know how he does it, but he started the season off very well. Carl Hooker's he's a really underrated player. Takes a lot of intercept marks and gets a lot of intercept possessions. Michael Hibbert's one of my favourite players at the moment. Goes about his business, he's tough and hard. And then Bagley's the other underrated defender. On the other hand, we look at Carlton. Now, missing Judd has been... You can't replace a player like that. But tonight they get back Walker and Carazzo. Now, Carazzo, I feel, will go step for step with Watson tonight. Now, that's a task in itself because I don't think there's many that have been able to tag Jobe Watson and keep his influence really in check. So if Carazzo gets that job tonight and he's able to succeed at it, that'll go a long way for the Blues in winning the game tonight. They get a rising star, the first rising star they've had in, I think, 3 or 4 years in Dylan Buckley. So that's a great sign for the club and something that's needed at the football club. But, we always come back to the same issue with Carlton. Where do they get their goals from? And it's been the same conversation we've had year in, year out with the Blues. They need to get goals from their midfield. They need to create opportunities for their forwards. So you look at both these teams on paper and we go, well, Essendon should win this game quite comfortably tonight. But in saying that, I've got concerns for Essendon's forward line and I've got concerns for Carlton's forward line. So it's going to be a midfield battle. We see so many games like that nowadays that it's a midfield battle. So who can get on top there early? And
Carlton's got a real advantage in the ruck with Warnock. Yeah. I think if they're to win the game, they've got to really put a creative midfield in there to go with him and get some guys like Murphy and Thomas and Simpson who can get on the move and get the ball in forward. I think their midfielders also need to kick goals. I think it'd be a good matchup for Gibbs to go to Watson and and just go one-on-one with him and possibly push forward at the right times and make Watson defend. That would be a real key if he was able to do that. But, it'll be interesting. Carlisle's gone into the ruck to start the bounce.
Who will win, Steve Johnson?
I've got Essendon by about 5 goals.
Adam Ramanauskas?
Yeah, I've got Essendon winning, but I think it'll be close. I think it'll be about 2 goals.
Adam White?
Essendon just.
Oh, we're a sweep for the Bombers, so it gives the Blues a great shot at things this Sunday night. So players in position. The Blues so urgently need this win to get their account started in 2014. At the MCG Sunday night footy, Essendon and Carlton, you're with Adam White.
Yeah, we finished round 3 with a blockbuster, with traditional rivals going at each other, and it will be a clearance to the Bombers through Myers, kicking up towards centre half forward. Danaher in front, couldn't mark. Chapman was lurking. Big tackles applied there to keep the ball inside the 50. The umpires circles and will call for it. Interesting to see Curnow immediately going to Stanton, and Buckley alongside Zaharakis, and Carazzo has gone to Watson. From the throw-up at the 50, nothing really eventuates, and the umpire has to come in and call for it.
So this makeshift forward line for Essendon tonight, we've got Jason Winderley coming out of the goal square. Goddard started forward, and Chapman started deep also.
Warnock gets to the front, palms it down, comes back to Warnock, who gets a quick kick clearing the congestion, but Stanton will get there first. Gets a handball to Hibbert, who kicks down the line, and the mark's been taken by Myers at left half forward, still 70 out from goal.
So he's going to chance his arm and put it deep into the pocket, see if they can come up with a mark, and they will. Hardingham made the space, the kick favoured him, and it'll be the first deliberate shot at goal.
Interesting to see Henderson started forward for Carlton as well. He's normally that guy that sits back in the hole and is able to intercept marks like that when there's space there in the forward line for the opposition.
So the angle's certainly tight enough, but Kyle Hardingham would only be 20 metres out. There's certainly enough light between the posts. Hardingham looking for the first. He started it online and he snuck it home. It's the Bombers who strike first inside a couple of minutes.
Well, it's all too easy, really. Hardingham takes an uncontested mark inside forward 50 there. And that was a real slow move in there. Hibbert got the football onto Myers, and Myers just went back and really just kicked it to a dangerous position where he saw the space. Simpson will be really, really dirty on himself there to allow Hardingham just to take that easy mark. But that's how Essendon have to get goals tonight. They're only going with the one real key forward in Joe Danaher, so they're going to have to find different avenues to goal all night.
So Myers and Gibbs is another midfield matchup. Hocking and Murphy. We've pretty much got them all covered. Warnock and Carlisle in the ruck. They jump into each other. Stays in the centre circles until Myers kicks it off the ground out towards the southern wing. Buckley will get there first. Handballs to Simpson of the Blues. Kicks up towards half forward. Thomas jumps early. Heppel with the spoil. That was a good contest out at left half forward. Fletcher with a huge tackle on Rowe. And the ball's locked up and it will be thrown up left half forward for the Blues out on the southern side.
So Crowder's on the build. I'd say we're beyond 50,000. Wouldn't exaggerate any more beyond that, though. The tap came the way of Carazzo, gives it to Gibbs, tight in on the boundary. Murphy, he ekes out a kick inside the 50. Good hands in front from it was Dale Thomas, but he wasn't able to pull the mark in. Quick kick on the way out is intercepted by Murphy, who tried for the centering ball, but Goddard was well camped to take the intercepting mark.
And now they come down the member side. The Bombers know Hibbert's kick was smothered by Everett. And from the 50, he collects the loose ball, kicks back towards full forward. Waite jumps into the pack, split the pack. It's still a live footy. Bagley got a handball out for the Bombers. It's still at the top of the square. Waite from the top of the goal square picked it up and missed. The right-hand side, a minor score. Carlton's first score, they're behind. Essendon a goal up to 3.
Picked up where they left off a week ago, missing from the goal square. Everett on the... it was Merritt on the way out, who kicked it to Goddard. Brings it up to the wing now for Hocking. A little 360, gives it off to Watson. Brings it inboard for Carlisle and back to Watson. Defensive hand pass and a little risky across the centre circle. Hibbard made it good though, gave it to Hurley inside the 50. Ford's not well positioned here. Winderlick was caught behind. The ball is loose though. Tui's hand pass to Walker. They all close on him. He gets it off though to Buckley. And off back to Tui. And out now into the safe hands of Curnow.
Yeah, but Curno's kick was partially smothered. They'll get out of it okay, the Blues, with Ellard picking up the loose football. Got the handball. Thomas involved with handballs as well. Gibbs now comes out to Murphy under pressure. It's gone out of play as Hibbard came at Murphy. And the ball spills out in front of the Carlton interchange gates.
The Carlton defenders have really got to get involved in the play there. They're all sitting back in a defensive 50, and even if they had an option forward, there was just no one to kick to.
Carlisle won it down to the front, taken by Yaron. He's tackled by Howlett. Myers gets the footy, handball straight to Menzel of the Blues. He handballs out of the congestion, only as far as Bagley of the Bombers. Another messy handball. Garlett flicks it out to Gibbs, who tried to get a handball to Yaron, fumbled it. Hurley came in strongly. Now the pack develops, and the umpire looks and looks and looks and says, "Keep playing, boys." Now he has to come in and call for a scrum on the Members wing.
And while we have a little bit, have you noticed that, Jono, with the umpires this year, they've held the whistle a lot longer?
Yeah, for sure. They're waiting for every last opportunity to pay a free kick, from what I've noticed.
Warnock down to Yaron, kicks up to half forward, and on the lead up is Menzel. Weight goes deep to the square. Menzel's going to go shallow with the kick, and he's picked out Simpson. That was pinpoint stuff.
Oh, well, it was absolutely perfect. And I think, look, that's Troy Menzel's great strength. We haven't seen what he can actually do yet as a player. He was injured a lot last season, but, now he's had pretty much a full pre-season. So, super talented player, high draft pick, and that's the skill level that he has.
Cade Simpson. He'll be every bit of 48 metres from goal. The left foot drop punts. It fades late and misses right after carving out a good line for most of its flight. One straight Essendon, two behinds Carlton. We've gone 6 minutes on Grandstand AFL.
Dustin Fletcher will kick it back into play by immediately kicking to himself and then going long. Wanted Danaher, but it won't get that far. The mark's been taken by Ashby, so his first kick in his career is a beauty. Into the path of Chapman. Allowed it to bounce and then got a bad bounce, but still was good enough to get the handball to Melksham. Melksham from the 50. Goddard one-on-one at the square. Gets to the back and goes over and out for a boundary throwing in the right forward pocket. But Jason Ashby's first kick in AFL footy was a good one.
Well, Chapman got tackled after he got rid of that, and he's a bit the worse for wear on the left ankle. Right forward pocket for the Bombers. Carlisle against Warnock. Warnock gets his hand to it, but it ricocheted too. Carlisle had a fresh area. Heppel's working under the pack. Robinson wraps him up. Still a hard ball to be won. Zaharakis feeds it out to Merritt, who takes a snap. Didn't get enough on it. Danaher does a good job to keep it alive at the top of the square, but Carlton does have the numbers. Everett gets it from Toohey, and he'll kick long out of the dangerous area. Henderson on the long lead. Marks at half-back.
He looks up. There's open territory ahead. He goes towards Yaron in a one-on-one with Hibbard. Yaron edges Hibbard under the footy and does it illegally. So free kick to Hibbard. Centering ball was a little clumsy, but Howlett was able to take it on the bounce. Goes short to Hocking. They spread to the members' side. Hocking to Heppel. Heppel marks just forward of the members' wing. Windelich should be the next in the chain. Leads up at Heppel and takes the mark at left half forward. Still too far out to score. Looking maybe long towards Goddard. Oh, he got himself in a bit of a bind there. Windelich forced a handball to Heppel, and Heppel's kick was smothered by Walker, and he was able to get it out of play, not far away from where Martin Blake is watching the action.
Well, I think Carlisle, he's got to take Warnock forward in every opportunity he gets. Even if he had sprinted to the square there and been an option, Warnock wouldn't have got back for this ruck contest.
Heppel tried through the pack. Failed. Howlett dispossessed. Toohey's over the ball. Tackles are laid. Gibbs reefed it out, but his kick is hurried and he's turned it over to Bagley. He'll give a bit of ground in the centre. Hibbard marks, looks for the option at centre half forward, and presenting beautifully is Watson. He'll send it into the pocket. Goddard this time. Superior body work on Everett. Opened up the drop zone and clunked the footy. Martin Blake.
Paul Chapman straight up to the rooms, Jared, with Dr. Bruce Reid. Looked like a left ankle injury.
So Goddard with the chance from the right forward pocket. He's close in. A player of such great skill botches the kick and misses near side. The answer behind. 1-1, 7-2 behinds to Carlton.
So the Blues on the kick in, a little iffy. No, Goddard gives away a free kick. So Simpson with the free kick. Advantage was paid as the Blues work it out towards the southern side. Henderson had his mark spoiled, so the Bombers have the football again with Bagley, who will just go extremely short. They're working it around on the southern wing, being patient, and eventually it's in the hands of Carlisle. So Carlisle from the logo spots Ashby in the middle, just forward of centre inside the centre square. He'll spread it wide towards Hurley. Went on the left, a little bit of a clumsy kick on the bounce. Hurley got it to Myers, who gives it to Fletcher, backpedaling, but a good little kick around the corner to Hibberd. He'll go short to Hurley. Hurley wants Hibberd to start running, and he gives it back to him. Hibberd kicking out wide towards the half-forward line. Wenderlich in front. In fact, it's Melksham in front. Couldn't take the mark, but he'll get the free kick. He was infringed in the marking contest, and he comes up looking a little ginger as well.
So Melksham onto the right boots, in test to the top of the square. Carlton's defence reasonably well placed. Walker didn't take the mark. Oh, they made a bit of a meal of it, but Everett's able to just avert the danger of the Zaharakis toe poke, and it's a rush behind. It's Essendon by a goal.
So Walker kicks in, a flat kick wanting Rowe on the southern side, gets to him on the bounce, partial fumble but able to pick it up, kick towards Henderson. Again the ball swatted away from Henderson, good defensive work there by Hooker, paddled it defensively to Fletcher, and again the Bombers working well, creating that wall and having possession, and Merritt going short on the southern wing, and the Bombers have still got the footy. It's with Stanton. Goes short down the line, and a good mark to Danaher in front of his eyes. Centres it up, wants Hocking, who marks in front of Murphy, plays on immediately, back to Merritt, kicking into the pocket. Hardingham stretches and takes the mark in front of Tui. He's deep in the right forward pocket, but only 30 metres out from goal.
So 11 minutes into this game, and Essendon already plus 26 in the possession count. Now, Carlton need to recognise that, and their pressure, particularly across their half-forward line. Essendon had a lot of possessions through Carlton's half-forward line. They just need to apply more pressure, because all that Essendon are doing is switching play from one side to the other and opening up the entire ground.
Hardingham from the pocket. He's kicked the first goal of the game. This one is good too. He's got both of the goals for the night after the first 12 minutes of play. 2-2-14 Essendon, Carlton 2 behinds.
Yeah, it was a nice kick there by Hardingham. What I'm noticing is Carlton are trying to hit the lead up coming out of their defence, and if they miss that opportunity to take the mark, Essendon's defenders are joining in really well. They're moving the ball off the line, and then they're going forward at the right time. So I think Carlton, if they can get a possession out of the back 50, maybe take an easy mark, take the pressure off, and then kick the ball forward where they can actually get some numbers there and at worst create a 50-50 contest and a ball up. Then it's not going to be slingshotted back into their into their back line as quickly.
Steve Johnson on grandstand to AFL. Danaher goes at it against Rowe. He wins the tap down to Howlett, off to Watson, backward to Bagley. Just couldn't find the way out. His hand pass is a bit loose. Garlett toes it forward cleverly for Carlton, taken by Robinson, off to Walker. He stubbed his toe. That ball barely went anywhere, and he'll have to go and replace his divot. They cannon in 60 out from the Carlton goal, where it's Berry. Martin Blake on the boundary.
Chappie's back warming up. Jared, I think he thinks he's going to be okay. Umpire Justin Schmidt is a casualty, though. The emergency umpire foot is on the ground.
Gibbs works his way through the pack. Hand passes forward, knocked away from Robinson. Melksham gathers it at ground level off to Ashby, who's dispossessed. Merritt working his way through the pack. Got it out to Myers, to Danaher, to Watson. They still come at him, but he's clever with the hand pass. Just delayed it beautifully. To Howlett, to Myers, to Hardingham, to Merritt. Kick up to half forward. Goddard flies, spoil made, gathers at ground level, didn't panic. Feeds it off to Heppel, he'll kick to the teeth of goal. It's well weighted, and Wenderlich sprawls to mark in the left forward pocket. He took off, but he didn't start behind the mark.
That's something someone in this commentary box would do.
He would approve, I'm sure.
I'll stay back and kick the snap, Whitey.
So Jason Wenderlich, tightest of angles, but he'll calmly walk around and sneak it through at the near post. The Bombers have 3, and that had a slightly ominous tone about it. 3-2-20, Carlton 2 behinds. We've gone 14 minutes.
You just look at how Essendon transitioned the football forward off a turnover. and it's just so quick. They're going into, obviously they got the short forward line tonight. Goddard's virtually playing as a centre half forward. I think he'll spend 75% of his game time tonight as a permanent forward, because that's just out of necessity. But that's where Carlton, they need to hold their back six, because these guys, you know, you look at Goddard, you look at Winderlick and Chapman, they're such smart players. So if Carlton give those particularly those three players enough space, they'll get torn apart tonight.
Disposals 72-34. Carlton disposal here with Carazzo getting the clearance. Hibbert into the pack, couldn't mark at the drop. Ashby, good handball to Hibbert. Caught on his right foot, kicks to the middle, and it's a good kick. The mark's taken by Carlisle. Looks up, he'll kick out to half forward. Stanton's got the drop on Walker. Walker comes late and does affect a good spoil. At the front though, Stanton is first to recover. Handballs to Hairpool. Got in a bit of trouble here. Danaher got dispossessed. Blues now with the ball. Simpson pokes a little pass to Gibbs. Gibbs goes back to the southern wing. Rowe's there now. Waits long if he can get it to him. No, he's too slow. And Rowe now has to kick over his mark.
Essendon's got the spare back there with Fletcher.
So giving a little ground with a kick for Gibbs, who needs the lead-up target at half-forward. Waite came out, Hurley came with him, made the spoil. Hibbert at the drop for the Bombers. Gives it off to Zaharakis, now to Myers. He'll bring it across the face of goal for Fletcher. He had Merritt, but he didn't use him initially. He'll have to now, having been called to play on. And Jackson Merritt has it in the left back pocket. Carlisle covering the ground particularly well. Gets it near the arc of defensive 50. Wedge it up over the top for Hibbert as Chapman trots back from the bench. Hockings on the lead. He's ignored. Hardingham down the line. It's all dried up. Hibbert ran himself into a dead end against Warnock. His kick is a lucky one. He didn't get that flush, but it does find the hands of Chapman. He brings it centrally and damagingly. In for Carlisle. Zaharakis is loose at the 50. It's poor checking from Gibbs. Zaharakis will lay off the short pass. It would have been better to have the long shot, because all he's done is pick out Andrew Walker.
Yeah, there was Walker against two Essendon players who were both leading, and it went between the two Essendon players and straight into the hands of Walker.
Oh, he's been unselfish there, Zaharakis, but...
Walker's kick terrible. Cut off by Hocking. Handballs to Danaher. He spins onto his left. He snaps to a vacant square, but it bounces away and out of play to the left. Sorry, Rama.
No, sorry, Whitey. So Zaharakis being very unselfish there, but you've got to go back and kick the goal. Early in the game, your legs are still feeling pretty good. Zaharakis makes the distance from there.
Throw in, a little shallow. Favours Danaher. In fact, it went over the top. Simpson's there, got tackled, got a handball to Jamison. And now the Blues will get out of trouble with a short pass coming to Menzel from Everett.
It's Essendon by 18 points. Oh, the kick across the face of goal is a shocker. And Winderlick is able to intercept. He's going to open up the angle rather than take the shot from deep in the pocket. And Stanton has been gifted the shot at goal.
Look, it was a poor kick by Menzel, but to be honest, there was Carlton players lateral to him, all calling for the ball. There was 3 or 4 of them, and they needed to get numbers down the line to give Menzel the option to kick long. And it just wasn't there, and he had to take the risky kick, and it was just turned over nicely.
Stanton makes the Blues pay. He splits the middle, and the margin skips out to 24 points. The Bombers have kicked the first 4. And there's a lethargy about Carlton's play. Not only were they calling for it, they were all flat-footed. The only movement came from Winderlick.
And that's the whole problem. They've had 2 opportunities where they've taken a mark. Menzel deep in their defence, and also Sam Rowe out on the outer side wing, where there comes a period in a quarter where, okay, they're 4 goals down now, but you've just got to suck some time out of the clock, possess the football for a period of time, don't give it back to the opposition. Take the easy kick. That kick from Menzel needed to come down the line. If it went out of bounds, have a restart, start again.
In the middle again. This time Warnock wins it down. Shark by Zaharakis, who lost control of the footy inside the centre circles. It does come out Carlton's way from the congestion. Going in hard, applying a tackle was Allard on Howlett. Howlett's kick went about 15 metres straight to Tui, who kicks it high back inside the 50. Henderson was caught out of position. Mopping up for the Bombers was Hurley, who handballs to Fletcher, who goes wide to Myers. There's some big numbers already here for some individuals. Hibbert's had 10, Myers coming up for 9, Merritt's had 8. And some big numbers. The long kick out to the southern side. Carlisle against Warnock in a one-on-one. Neither could take the mark. And the ball trickles out of play for a throw-in. So we've reached 19 minutes in the opening term, with Essendon leading 4-2 to 2 behind.
Martin Blake.
Joe Danaher having a spell on the bench, which leaves Essendon with Winderlick in the goal square and Goddard. That's about the size of the forward line.
From the stoppage, gathered by Merodot to Zaharakis. His kick is smothered. Dale Thomas nudges the Blues forward. Up to Gibbs. Hand pass to Menzel. Back to Gibbs. Couldn't find the way through. Sideways instead to Ellard. Takes the mark. 2 kicks out from goal. Henderson goes on the lead into the pocket. That's where the kick goes, and it's a good one. Henderson marks in front of the eyes. He is wide out on the left and every bit of 50 from goal.
It was a really smart kick by Gibbs to bring that ball just central back in the corridor to open up the 50 for Carlton. Henderson, the smart lead's probably a touch wide, but really Carlton's first set shot for goal for the game.
They just have to get a heart starter here, the Blues. Lockie Henderson, it's near side all the way. It's a behind. They've got 3 of those to go against 4-2. I think that heart rate monitor is the stupidest thing that's ever been brought to television, but I will confess to being morbidly fascinated by Mick Malthouse wearing it today because it might explode.
The short kick into Bagley. The heart rate monitor or Mick?
No, we don't.
Both.
And we don't hope that doesn't happen because Mick has had heart problems in the past.
Off hands on the southern wing, it falls to Carlton. And Simpson goes from the wing all the way back to left half back at defensive 50 to Everett. And he can't affect the switch. He has to go a 15-metre short pass to Walker in the corridor. Handballs to Everett. Now, this is the important kick. Oh, it's going to be to a contest. It's one-on-one, Hocking and also Kerner, and Hocking wins it and kicks back to full forward. Goddard marks, runs into an open goal, and Essendon's got 5. The Bombers 5-2-32. Another gift from Carlton. The Blues 3 behinds after 21 minutes when they couldn't, Stevie, affect that switch immediately. You could see that they were in trouble, and it was that dicey kick to half-back, and that was when Hocking was in that one-on-one with Kerno.
Yeah, it looked like the Carlton players spread really hard to get out there and be an option, but it was the second wave of players that you need to hit. It looked like they drew the defenders out with them, but Gibbs was up the middle to try and hit him, but they didn't go for it. Going to one-on-one, 55 metres out from goal is very dangerous, and Essendon have been all over them early in this game.
Well, this is a desperate start now from a Carlton perspective. They're 29 points down and goalless in time on of this opening term. Carlisle wins the tap. Murphy sharked the foot. He gave it to Carazzo. Backward to Robinson. Further back to Gibbs. Sideways now to Kerno, but at least it found him. He flicks the hand pass to Walker. Kick beyond halfway for Simpson. Simpson wants to get it on quickly around the members' wing. He's had a look up to half forward and he's spent it well. Wait out to lead. Menzel's gone deep. Now Henderson is leading about 25 out from goal. He couldn't have gone to any of those, so sideways around the perimeter for Buckley. Buckley goes inside the 50 over the top of Menzel, and Essendon have the numbers count back. Hibbard to Hurley to Watson against the boundary. Guided it on the left, and he found Melksham low down at half-back.
Yeah, lovely bullet pass from Watson on his non-preferred. Melksham, short pass to Hocking. Got a bit of space. And he'll go to Chapman, who'll mark dead set centre wing members' side in front of the interchange gates. He goes down the line to Carlisle. Now Heppel's floating forward. Hardingham wanted it short. Carlisle doesn't like either of those two options. Now called to play on, so goes backwards to Chapman on the wing. And he's got to kick over his mark. No, it's 50.
That was crazy by White.
Silly.
Straight over the mark.
Silly.
So, I mean, he was bereft of options, Chapman, apart from going backwards. And so White didn't need to do that. Now, White's marched to the man on the mark at 40. And Paul Chapman, this could be another gift.
Oh, it's just silly. You can clearly see where Chapman took the mark, and White just walked over the mark. The umpire was an easy decision in the end.
Chapman to the punt road end. This could be 6. No, he doesn't like the kick. It's a little bit to the left and through for a minor score. So Essendon 5-3-33. Carlton 3 behinds after 24.
How's Mick Malthouse going, Blakey?
Actually, Jared, he's remarkably calm, but I wouldn't. Stevie and Rama wouldn't want to be up the front of the huddle quarter time.
He's been prowling down there for 3 or 4 minutes already. Menzel marked the kick in. He nearly kicked it into the man on the mark. Hardingham had cleared him. Waite playing from behind, couldn't take the mark. Dale Thomas nudged it forward. He got through Fletcher, but he lost the footy in the process, so he lays a strong tackle on Heppel. It's in dispute. Hurley to Chapman. He's dispossessed against the boundary and tipped over by Curnow. It'll be thrown in. On the broadcast wing. 25 minutes played of this opening term. Toss back in. Rowe did a good job to win the tap. Down to Robinson. Gave Carlton first access. Kicked a half forward. Myers made the spoil over the top of Gibbs. Andy gathered the footy. Off to Hurley, who checked it well for Hibberd, who's in an acre of space out on the southern wing. Hibberd gathers, has a look down the line, assessed 2 or 3 different options and went for Chapman. It wasn't the best one in the end, and the Blues are a chance to win the turnover.
Yeah, but they can't quite get that effective disposal through midfield. Now the ball's locked up. Spills out Carlton's way. Spinning out of trouble was Allard. Handball to Carazzo under pressure. Now they're out the Blues. Murphy through midfield. Spreads it wide towards half forward. Now it's a bouncing footy. Garlett was worried out of it there by Bagley. Stanton came in for support. He lost it. Picked up by Garlett again. Kicks to full forward. It's a poor kick. Although Goddard dropped the chest mark low down. In support though was Hibberd. And they work it to the boundary, the Bombers. Hurley also involved just to get it there. So they probably dodged a bullet there, the Bombers.
12 inside 50s to 8 Essendon's way. But Essendon have had 8 scoring shots for those 12 inside 50s.
Margin is 30 points. Carlton looking for their first. Rowe with the tap. Watson was on the scene though. He pinched it, gave it to Howlett. Off to Hibberd. Hand pass across the face of goal. Hooker on the way out goes for Hurley. Hurley's played on, wants a target beyond the defensive 50, and that's provided by Chapman. Melksham goes on the short lead. Chapman let that dry up initially, and then drifting onto the scene was Bagley.
Bombers are on track for 500 possessions tonight. They're up to 123 possessions for the quarter.
And 45 marks.
Well, that's a real worry. I was going to bring that up at quarter time, but most teams allow 20 marks a quarter, 20 uncontested marks a quarter, 45, and I'd say, 42 or 3 of those would be uncontested.
The 46th mark was taken by Heppel, who kicked up to half forward. Yaron has taken the mark and taken off, so he's dared to take the game on, but his kick going the other way went straight to Hooker.
Yeah,
He'd like to be Jason Winderlich here, boys.
Releases Bagley, who kicks towards the 50, and the mark's taken by Carlisle. Now, Winderlich is one-on-one in the goal square with Buckley. He goes in that direction. He's wrestling. He marks it. And Stevie J called it. 30 seconds before it happened.
That's got to be an automatic 50 metres too. Mark Murphy cannot just run up to 3 metres as close to Winderlich as that. If he was 45 metres out from goal, it would be an automatic 50.
Doesn't matter. Winderlich kicks it anyway. And it's a half dozen to the Bombers and 2 to Winderlich in his comeback game. And the warning sirens are going off in the Carlton box. 6-3-39. It's like Friday night all over again. Carlton 3 behinds after nearly 28 minutes.
Well, you called it, Johnny. You could see the play opening up, couldn't you? For Winderlich just continued to drag Buckley deeper and deeper and deeper, and all the space was just in front of him. So all that football had to do. Chappie was probably going for goal, but it didn't matter in the end. Winderlich had the one-on-one chance with young Buckley, and he was always going to mark it.
Yeah, the Carlton defenders were all huddled thereafter, but there's not much they can do. They need their midfielders to start having more of an influence, and at the right times they need to push forward and engage the Essendon spares so that on the turnover they can't just come back and deliver the ball forward like that.
It's been a horrid opening term for Carlton. 3 behinds only, while Essendon has taken them for 6 goals 3, and it's a 36-point margin at the first change. 6-3 to 3 behinds. The goal kickers 2 for Winderlich and Hardingham, singles to Stanton and to Goddard. Well, for the Blues, there's not a goal kicker amongst them. Oh, she's got trouble written all over this tonight, and what was a major assessment for the Blues. And so far, it's been a shocking start. Essendon by 36 points. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
We all remember remember a bit about Noah's Ark. The animals going in 2 by 2, the great flood, the Ark itself.
Joanna Lumley embarks on an epic journey of discovery.
Noah and the Great Flood is one of the oldest stories we know.
The BBC presents Joanna Lumley, The Search for Noah's Ark.
It's something that's fascinated me all my life. And in this film, I'm going to show you why.
At ABC shops, centres, ABC Shop Online and DVD retailers.
Sunday footy.
Grandstand AFL.
So he's going to chance his arm and put it deep into the pocket, see if they can come up with a mark, and they will. Hardingham made the space. The kick favoured him. Hardingham looking for the first. He started it online and he snuck it home.
Back to Merritt, kicking into the pocket. Hardingham stretches and takes the mark in front of Tui. He's kicked the first goal of the game. This one is good too.
Feeds it off to Heppel. He'll kick to the teeth of goal. It's well weighted and Winderlich sprawls to mark in the left forward pocket. Tightest of angles, but he'll calmly walk around and sneak it through at the near post. The Bombers have 3, and that had a slightly ominous tone about it. Essendon by 18 points. Oh, the kick across the face of goal is a shocker, and Winderlich is able to intercept. Danton makes the Blues pay. He splits the middle, and the margin skips out to 24 points.
It's one-on-one Hocking and also Kerner, and Hocking wins it and kicks back to full forward. Goddard marks, runs into an open goal, and Essendon's got 5.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio, online and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Essendon by 36 points at quarter time. The Giants beat the Demons by 32 points. North Melbourne came from behind to beat Port Adelaide by 7 points. In the T20 World Cup final in the women's, with England batting first against Australia. England 6 for 94 after 17 overs. So Australia giving itself a great shot at 3 straight titles in that format of the game. Make it 7 for 96, so 7 for 95 now, England. So Australia well on top there. And in the A-League today, it was Sydney FC 4 defeating Wellington 1. Adam Ramanauskas and Steve Johnson.
I think what's most concerning for Carlton in that first quarter is 45 uncontested marks to Essendon. Now, you know, that should be after half-time, 45 uncontested marks. But the next part that becomes really relevant to me is Essendon going at 82% with their disposal. All that says to me is that Carlton aren't applying anywhere near enough pressure to Essendon. You look at the stats, and I don't like looking at stats that much, but they paint a really sorry picture for Carlton in that first quarter. 130 possessions to 74. And now you've got Hibbert with 14 possessions, who basically plays across half-back. Myers 10, Bagley 9, another half-back. Hurley 9, who's centre half-back. And then you've got Merritt at 9 as well. So the way Essendon are possessing that football across that half-back line, Carlton need to start pushing up on them. They have to. Otherwise, at the moment, because Essendon's skills are too good, because there's no pressure being applied, if Carlton start to really rush the kicker and make the Essendon player with the football make a quicker decision, they might be able to turn the football over. But all Essendon are doing at the moment is finding the loose player and inching their way forward until they can get it inside 50. Now, they've had 13 inside 50s for 9 scoring shots. So that's just taking the football inside 50 at will and doing what they wanted. They've only really got one key forward tonight in Jay Danaher. Winderlich's been really dangerous. Hardingham's been dangerous. And Goddard looks really good there, playing virtually as a centre-half forward, but a higher type centre-half forward. If Carlton can't come out this quarter, look, I think it's just got to be one-on-one now. Has to be one-on-one. Okay, you've got, for the first 10 minutes of this quarter, you've got your player, you're playing him tight. One guy I want to talk about who's a little bit concerning for me, Dale Thomas, only had the 2 possessions in that quarter and really looked out of it. He played virtually across half forward for that whole quarter for Carlton, but couldn't get anywhere near the football. Now, look, I know he's coming off a limited pre-season, but inject him into the midfield, inject himself into the game, because this is slipping away from Carlton very fast.
Yeah, you would have thought that Carlton would have had a really strong advantage in the middle at the start of this game, but they haven't really got their hands on the ball through there. Between Garlett Robinson, Thomas and Yaron, they've had 10 touches. And, if you're not touching the footy, you've got to do the basics well. You've got to put the defensive pressure on and help create some turnovers. That's how you're going to score on a day like this. But unfortunately for them, Mick must be pulling his hair out because there's nowhere near enough pressure. They're allowing all those 20, 30-metre kicks off the line through the middle of the ground. That would be really disappointing. At worst, you allow a kick along the boundary so you let your defence get set up a little bit better. But at the moment, they're letting them take it back through the middle and then kicking it forward to one-on-one options. You don't need a tall forward line when the ball's coming in like that. You might as well have a really mobile, small forward line because with that much space, anyone could kick goals.
We've touched on some of the stats, but just individually to quarter time for Essendon, there's some cricket scores here. Hibbert's had 14 in the first term, Merritt 10, Bagley 10, Myers 10, Hurley 9, Hocking 8, and then it's to Watson with 7, Carlisle 7, Stanton 6 for Carlton. Gibbs has had 9, and then it's down to Walker and Simpson with 6, and a host of players including Carazzo and Murphy that have 5.
Well, if Carlton can't stop the rot at the start of this term, it's the sort of performance that can actually define a season.
Yeah.
They're 36 points behind, having not kicked a goal. And it couldn't be more desperate than it is right now. Essendon to the city end. Warnock wins the opening tap. Dale Thomas flicks it over his head. Murphy gets first possession. High ball up to half forward. Heppel makes the spoil across the front. Bagley coming through. Great hand pass to Heppel, who recovered and kept going. Kicks up to centre half forward. Tui made the spoil. Coming through was Milksham. He got taken to ground by Yaron, but he didn't have it.
Oh, really smart there by Milksham. He didn't take the football, just tapped it in front of him. Knew Yaron would hold on.
Goddard and Chapman out into the pocket, and Chapman is granted right of way.
He'll go straight away here, I reckon. No, he's gone back. He's going to kick a drop punt. That's Chappie snap territory there. He loves them from there.
So Chapman's about 8 metres in from the boundary on the left. He's 35 metres out from goal. Hunched down over the approach to goal. Chapman stays on a direct line. He kicks at the drop punt. He's pushed it across the face, just ignoring everything he was taught in the hoops. And he nudges it through for a behind. 6-4 to 3 behind.
Just wondering whether the ankle injury might be affecting his kicking, because that's 2 now he's missed that you'd expect him to get. As the Blues work it back into play, but Murphy's kick was terrible, and it was easy to be just spoiled across the line by Hardingham for a boundary throw-in, only 50 metres around from Essendon's goal.
Well, Hardingham probably should have marked that, really.
Yeah. Thrown in, Warnock over the top, wins it down, only as far as Goddard, got tackled, got about a 2-metre kick, falls out Carlton's way here. Simpson, he's going to be pushed over the boundary by Merritt, so there's no chance for him to get an effective disposal. He'll be thrown in again. Still only 60, 70 metres around from the Bombers' goal. Essendon kicking down to the city end in this second term. Throw in. Warnock beaten by Carlisle, who wins it down to Howlett and collared by Murphy high. So it'll be a Howlett free kick for Essendon.
He uses it as a hand pass to Merritt, who runs the boundary and kicks deep inside the 50. Milksham's on his own in the pocket. Buckley made the late spoil. He did it legally, and off the boot of Chapman, it's accidentally gone out on the full.
It was really well done by Buckley there, because he was terribly out of position, but was able to affect that spoil late.
Yaron takes off across the face of goal. A 3-bounce run. His kick on the way out misses its target, and it slews up to Fletcher, who hammers it onto the boot and lobs it straight back in. Chapman drops the mark. Yaron gets a fresh look at it. Hand pass out the back to Jamison, and he's a little more sure-footed on the way out for Curnow.
And Curnow, this is a better kick, finds Gibbs. Defensive wing southern side. Again, looking up here, he's only really got weight on a searching lead. He stretches, can't take the mark. Off hands, it's an Essendon footy again. And centering up cleverly there was Merritt as they work it around through centre half back with Howlett up towards the wing. Melksham got caught behind, but at least created a contest, tried to get it out towards Myers. He shrugs the Dale Thomas tackle very easily on the bounce to Chapman, palms it into the path of Howlett, feeds a good handball to Bagley. He's 60 out, short pass, and Hardingham's got it again. 40 metres out from goal, straight in front.
They're going to get beaten by 100 points playing like this, Carlton.
There was 4 players that could have received a handball, pick that football up there in the middle of the ground for Essendon. Jeez, these are really, really bad signs for Carlton to start this quarter.
And the interesting thing is that Zaharakis, Goddard, Stanton, Heppel, Watson, they're not the ones really dominating to this point.
There's no need to.
Yeah. Hardingham straight in front will kick from 45 for his third. The goal umpire has not moved, apart from arching his back and watching it go over his head. It is 7 now to the Bombers, 7 in a row, 7-4-46. Carlton 3 behinds. We've played 4 minutes in quarter number 2. I think we're all a bit stunned.
I think we've touched a fair bit on how poor Carlton's going, but equally how good are Essendon looking at the moment. Their defensive transition to get back and help their defenders has been unbelievable, and they're picking up the crumbs there, and that's where they're generating a lot of their attack from just getting back in numbers and then using the ball well going forward.
46 plays 3. Carlisle against Warnock in the middle. Over a good straight bounce. Warnock taps it to the side. Carrazzo's offloaded. Unfairly. It's a Blues free kick. Carrazzo lays it off to the side. Menzel takes the mark. Spreads the hand pass to Jamison running out of full back. He kicks from the wing. Deep inside the 50. Free kick. Before acceptances were taken, Henderson was being held on to, and Hooker's been nabbed. And it really was about the only way Carlton looked like getting the next deliberate shot at goal. Lockie Henderson. It's on a slight angle to the right, but this is not negotiable. Hasn't kicked the goal yet this season. From 40 out, Henderson leans on it and misses across the face. And they're 42 points adrift.
That's 2 behinds to Henderson. 2 gettable shots. Fletcher in the punt road goal square, kicks to himself. Then penetrates to the southern side. Lots of options and coming over the top, taking a good mark with Hooker. Handballs to Howlett. Now Watson involved, a little dodgy with the handball to Zaharakis, but he made it okay. Howlett kept running, gave the fend off, gave it high. So a Carlton free kick in the middle. Robinson wanted the advantage as Walker and Howlett had a bit of a wrestle in the middle. Walker emerges with the footy. And he'll handball very wide to the southern wing to Jamison, who's got some time. Goes out extremely wide to Waite, who takes a good mark with Hurley right behind. So Waite too far out to score, about 60 out, southern side close to the boundary. He's going to have to go back to the southern wing now. Try and transfer here. Jamison will kick to the middle to Buckley. They're lining up on the half-forward flank, but Buckley's kicked it straight to Chapman at centre-half forward. The Bombers have got the footy again.
How they go in transition. The kick from Chapman to Goddard right in the middle. Across the circles now for Hibberd. Thought about giving the hand pass back to Chapman, played on, ran into a dead end, so had to hand pass to Goddard. He's the designated kicker. He goes out wide at half forward for Zaharakis. Too far out to score himself. In the square is Winderlip and Buckley again. But there's extra numbers getting there. Zaharakis will head into the pocket. He wants to give Danaher a run at it. He's overkicked Danaher, and across comes Henderson in coverage to double-fist it out of play.
Goddard's filthy at Zaharakis for that kick. Even though Goddard didn't want it himself. Didn't like what he did. Thrown in. Carlisle and Warnock. Carlisle to the front. Dangerous spot here. Simpson, though, will collect for the Blues. Close to the boundary. Kicks down the line. Again, not sure on the option. Hibberd gets there first. Handball, though, was not great. Looking for Stanton. Collected, though, by Curnow. Curnow was tackled, but did get a handball to Murphy. His handball was knocked down by Hibberd, and it's gone out of play for a throw-in on the members' wing. Up to 8 minutes in the second term. Carlton yet to kick a goal. They're 4 behinds. Essendon's got 7 of them. 7-4-46.
Back into play. Carlisle in front. Warnock. What's the call here? Umpire's pointing in all sorts of different directions. A free kick off the ball to Murphy. Murphy to half back for Buckley. Careful into the middle of the ground for Simpson. Yaron wants it and he receives it. He takes off. Took about 5 or 6 steps and put it out in front of Rowe on the bounce. Fletcher closes on him. They're near the boundary. Rowe in front, Fletcher behind. Rowe gathers and gets away from Fletcher. Hand pass to Curnow. Gives it out the back to Everett. High ball up to full forward. Walker, big leap. Couldn't quite bring it in. Snap under the pack is a good one. It's a goal to Menzel.
That's what we want to see from Carlton. If they're going to kick it in and get a contest forward, they've got numbers at the front there. That's where they're going to be able to kick goals. At the moment, they've been trying to work the ball forward to a leading option, and it just hasn't been coming off. They went forward only minutes ago, and they tried to work the ball around the arc, and I don't think they would have been any better off than if they had just bombed it in there to 15 metres out from goal and hopefully give Menzel and the like a chance to get the crumb goals.
Carlton's first goal comes at the 9-minute mark of the second term. 1-4-10 to Essendon's 7-4-46.
Danaher to go in ruck now against Warnock in the middle of the MCG. And it's one down by Warnock. And actually sharked by Danaher. He worked that out, but he couldn't get anywhere through the centre circles with a lot of traffic around. It'll be thrown up again.
So Carlo has a rest on the bench. Danaher goes into ruck, and then your full forward line is Goddard and Watson.
Carlton with a clearance. Tui coming from outside that congestion to get a quick kick away towards half forward. Bagley, though, did well for the Bombers. Kept the ball in front of himself and then gets a free kick as he was tackled without having possession of the ball. The free kick against Robinson. Short pass to Merritt, getting a lot of the footy. Merritt coming up for his 13th possession. It's a handball to Hibbert.
Goddard's out by a mile here, boys.
They've got to the middle with Hurley. Now that Goddard is the next one in the chain. Out at left half forward. He'll bang it long towards full forward. Now Hardingham's there. He gets a hand to it. Couldn't quite complete the mark. At the drop, it's a Carlton ball to Murphy. Murphy's kick to Curnow. Curnow made it a good one. Read it well and took the chest mark inside defensive 50.
So nothing immediate to go too long, so across the face of goal for Everett. Everett sees Simpson on a hard lead on the opposite side of goal. So from the right back pocket, he'll dink it up over the top to Jamison and kicks it back to Simpson. And they're going to bring it across the face of goal the other way. Buckley, Murphy's on the leads. Buckley didn't look up in time. He's going to go the longer kick to Ellard. Didn't quite reach him in time. Bagley made the spoil. Robinson wins it back for the Blues, though. Gives it to Ellard, so all's well that ends well. Kick up beyond halfway. Rowe against the boundary. His endeavours to get around Fletcher. He dragged the ball out of play.
So the ball will be thrown in between wing and half forward left for Carlton on the members' side. Up to 11 minutes now in the second term. With Essendon up by 36. Warnock winning the tap down. Bashed forward there by Howlett lying on the ground towards Chapman. He's set upon. And trying to charge out with the footy was Thomas. He's not going anywhere, and it will be thrown up.
They're playing Tweet the Crowd on the scoreboard. What would you say? 55?
I reckon 62. Okay. Stanton, handball to Chapman. Chapman up towards half forward, all Carlton, and Jamison takes the mark. Similar sort of crowd to what we had last night, Jared, I reckon, which was 62.
Jamison works it off to White, who gives it to Gibbs. He's the ball carrier out of halfback. He's had 2 bounces, 3 to reach the wing. Gibbs is running out to the right, and he uses it as a short pass. The mark's taken by Everett. Down the line, a 20-metre kick for Gibbs, who kept coming.
I actually think there's a few more than last night, so I'm going to go 65, 66.
Okay. Gibbs with his 12th disposal goes backwards. Everett across the centre square for Buckley. So time in possession again for the Blues. A complete transfer out now to Thomas on the broadcast wing. He puts it onto the right boot. It's just a floating kick up to half forward. Danaher takes it. He's taken the ground by Henderson. Winderlich with some real urgency about him. Feeds it off to Stanton and he kicks it up to Chapman. There's some real purpose about the Bombers when they get the ball.
Yeah, and he goes short to Watson, coming up for his 10th disposal. It's a chip over the top to Hocking. So keep having that loose player over the top.
Yeah, because they're running harder. Simply, I'm watching how they're getting free. They're running past the Carlton plays every single time Essendon on the overlap. It's really poor checking and really lazy by Carlton.
They've worked it to the southern wing. Hurley's kick was partially smothered, and that's where it falls down with Menzel cutting it off. The kick from Murphy was short to Rowe. Into the middle to Simpson. Dangerous kick. Turned over again. again. Merritt sharks it, kicks the ball forward. Goddard marks, snaps towards goal and misses. Now I wonder whether anyone's going to spray Goddard for that. Should have kicked that, no pressure.
Essendon by 37, the kick-in's not a good one. Hibbard reaches up to make the spoil. Blues have numbers at the crumb though. Tui receives the hand pass from Everett, delivers up to half forward, bouncing ball at favoured Hurley. Essendon get the ball back. He gives it to Hibbert and now to Heppel, who'll chip around the southern wing for Goddard. He's at halfway, he's thinking and looking, and now hand passing to Hurley, who works it around in a triangle with Heppel. Up for half forward where Carlisle's made the space away from Warnock. There's two decent kicks out from goal. Into the pocket, looking for Watson, who's up on the lead. There was plenty of aerial coverage, though. White over the top to spoil and get it out of bounds.
And Jono, with that Goddard miss, would Bomber Thompson send the runner out to him?
I don't think so. You just got to back your players to make the right decisions. Goddard probably, if at his time again, he might have kicked the drop punt.
Thrown in, Rowe wins it down for the Blues. Sharkdo by Winderlick, handball to Hocking. Hocking got some time, goes at goal from the pocket and kicks the goal. Well, he just had so much time. I was actually watching that through the binoculars. I took it away because I thought there must have been a whistle off the play because all the players stopped and Hocking just said, oh, okay, I'll have a shot then. There was no free kick.
Well, it was terrific by Jason Winderlick there. Got right under the feet of both ruckmen. Able to one grab, but you're absolutely right, Whitey. No one was anywhere near Hocking. Hocking's direct opponent's Mark Murphy. Now, Hocking's obviously running with Murphy, but that's the way you can really make Murphy pay, is that you take him forward and you kick goals on him.
8-5-53 Essendon Carlton 1-4-10 after 15 of the second.
Adam Ramanaskas and Steve Johnson on Grandstand AFL tonight. From the stoppage in the middle, nothing to be had as Ashby ran into tackles. Ashby's had 3 touches so far on debut. Plenty of players around it trying to win the clearance. Rowe does. He bounces it up to half forward. In pursuit of it is Menzel. He kicks it off the ground. It won't sit in the field of play for him on the follow-up. And he crosses the line and out of play. Chapman and Carazzo in a skirmish off the ball.
2 ex-teammates a long time ago. Sure.
Up at left half forward for the Blues, who trail by 43 points. The throw-in cleared the ruckman. Simpson bullocking away at the back. Gives it off to Buckley. Works it around to Dale Thomas. Kicks inside the 50. Again, no penetration on the kick. And Heppel ghosts in to take the mark against the boundary. Quickly out across the face of goal for Hooker. He completes the transfer to Merritt. Didn't find him cleanly, so Merritt's got company from Garlett. And he's happy to be pushed over the boundary where it'll be thrown in.
So Thomas has had 5 disposals with an efficiency rate of 20%.
I'd like to see Waite just wait back at the top of the square there and then kick it to him. He's trying to lead every time to get an easy mark, and it's just too hard.
Rowe wins it down. It was taken by Zaharakis, who was tackled, and there's a free kick going Carlton's way here with the tackle by Merritt on Simpson high. So Cade Simpson, he's outside the 50, centering ball. Henderson got into a good spot. It was well spoiled there by Fletcher. Garlett was lurking, lost control of it. Comes out now to Tui from 45. I fancy him from here. Yes, he's got it. Second goal to Carlton. And the margin's cut to 37 points. Essendon 8-5. Carlton 2-4 after 17 of the second.
Oh, it was just really hard work. A little scrappy play by Carlton, but they were able to get the football in probably their best kick in Zach Tui. Now, we've seen Tui kick goals from half-back quite often, so it was good. It was hard work. We've been harping on about Carlton's pressure, need to apply pressure. Well, that's what it was. The pressure was coming from Essendon, but also Carlton were pressurised in their disposals. They had to make quick decisions, get the football out to Tui, who's free, kicks the goal. Well done.
Essendon by 37. Bounce back in the middle. Carlisle won the tap. The football ended up landing on him. Carazzo pulled it out, hand pass indiscriminate. Zaharakis gets it out to the wing. Myers runs onto it, got a good shepherd from Merritt. Myers stretches away, delivers up to half forward. Chapman wanted it. Everett just got a fist in the nick of time. Punched it away and out of play.
It's where the talk's got to come from behind there, John. He should have marked that, Everett.
Yeah, he had enough time. He could have gone back with a bit of voice, taken a two-handed grab.
40 out from the Essendon goal. Danaher goes third man up, took possession, dropped it before he got tackled, so he gets away with that. He scrapped for it at ground level. Danaher is holding that up. And the umpire is going to ball it up. Up she goes. Rowe wins the tap. He knocked it goal side, which is a dangerous ploy. Hardingham back over the line to be thrown in again. Deep forward for Essendon, who lead by 37 points.
There's a lot more numbers around this stoppage now. They must have been told to clog up the deep defensive 50 stoppages.
So the throw-in takes place. Carlo wins it down to Danaher. His handball was knocked down, falls to Jamison. He's tackled by Hardingham, falls back to Jamison, working with Robinson. Now Everett. Everett just clears the danger zone for the moment. Hurley with a spoil in the marking contest. Falls to Watson. Handballs it out. Now go the Bombers. Stanton working into the middle with Hooker. And Hooker's the first one to kick it for the Bombers in that chain, and it goes out wide to Bagley. He's now on the members' side, just forward of the wing. He looks up. They're not running as much as they were. The Bombers, the short kick's nice. Cross to Hooker.
And again, you just watch Cale Hooker run straight past Jeff Garlett there to get the easy uncontested mark. Garlett has to go with Hooker there.
Hooker will just pop it up into the pocket. He wants Goddard, who uses the body, stretches and marks.
And that's the result. Hooker's able to take that mark where he can get it in deep inside Essendon's forward 50. If Bagley had to kick that football, he's at centre wing. So it's a really shallow forward 50 entry. Now Goddard's having a shot. Okay, acute angle, but he's only 15 metres out.
Right forward pocket, Goddard with the drop punt, threads it. And he has got two. And Essendon skip further ahead. 9-5-59. Carlton 2-4-16. Just ticked into time on in the second term.
Well, it's not looking as bad as what it was in the first quarter at the moment. Carlton are putting a lot more numbers around the footy and they're scrapping a little bit more. But going inside 50 for Essendon, they've got one-on-one contests and it doesn't matter who you are, how big you are, if you've got that much space. Essendon, with the skills that they've got, they're able to put it to the advantage of their forwards, and Goddard was the benefactor that time.
So we think of Essendon playing midfielders, almost this makeshift forward line. Goddard's 189, so 15 years ago he'd be a good size full forward.
Well, and Watson's 191, I think, so that works.
Essendon by 43, ball to be won in the middle. Walker and Carlisle scrap over it. Chapman comes third man in to lay the tackle. Crush the pack and it'll be balled up.
How tall was Tony Modger? He was only about 6 foot, wasn't he? He used to jump on people's heads to make up for the lack of height.
Had the ball up, a lot of numbers around it again. Warnock tapped it straight down to Chapman, didn't find anyone with his hand pass. Menzel took it, might wish he hadn't. And the way they swarmed on him. And on the outer of the two circles, up it goes again. Oh, there were 5 men who went at the ruck contest. 3 of them fancied themselves as the third man up. It's hard to clear from there. Howlett ran straight into Dale Thomas.
So Heber was the 7th man up, was he?
That was crazy.
Man up.
We could all have the same idea. I imagine there'll probably be a couple who fancy themselves again. Robinson offloaded Hocking as they went to set up. Carranzo's kicked that the wrong way by accident. All Merritt went at it one-handed and he fumbled. It gave Walker a look. He missed his hand pass, but he'll get it back. No damage done. Curnow was helping to mop up there. Kick from Walker out for Simpson, who's at left half back. Centering ball on the half volley to Tui, who's under pressure from Stanton. Does a neat little blind turn. Kicks around the wing, almost on the full. It landed in the field of play. So the Blues saved a few blushes there.
Approaching half-time, Essendon already have 11 players with 10-plus possessions in this game.
And one of them's not Stanton and one of them's not Zaharakis. Thrown in. One down by Warnock, straight to Chapman, who kicks it back towards the boundary line through the legs of Simpson. And Zaharakis trying to get a possession, couldn't collect before it went over that boundary.
It looks like Carlton have equalised the numbers forward of the footy for them. So if they get it and they win it in the contest here, they've got to take it forward as quick as they possibly can.
Carlisle wins it down from the front. Chapman gets barreled and they all sit on top of him and the umpire has to call for it again. Hibberd with 17, Merritt 15, Bagley 14, Hurley 13 disposal count for Essendon, 14 to Simpson, 13 to Gibbs. From the congestion, it comes out towards Dale Thomas, close to the boundary, stays in play, gets tackled, handballs to Walker, dinks a handball over the top to Carazzo, lost control of it, Walker came in for support and got tackled over the boundary by Joe Watson.
That's unlike Carazzo. He just hasn't played enough football in the early part of the season. He doesn't fumble like that generally, but that was good by Carlton, I thought. They were in close proximity, all their players, but they're able to work that football.
At the throw-in, we haven't seen much open play in recent minutes. Got over the hand pass to Hocking, kick up to half forward. Danaher worked underneath it. Jamison sees it back out of play. Now in Essendon territory, though.
Jared Wade is getting increasingly frustrated. He's having to come up to Heppel because there's so many midfielders forward of the ruck contest that he's covering off at the back, and they're losing their structure forward of the footy at the moment.
Warnock got left as the lone man in the ruck. He took it. His kick slewed off the side of the boot out near the boundary. Menzel was barrelled over. And Bagley
really found his spot in his team, Bagley, now. He's very reliable as that back pocket player. Generally gets the most dangerous small forward and doing a great job week in, week out.
Carlisle wins the tap this time. Melksham coming through. Paddles it to Essendon's advantage. Harding hammers onto it. They'll get the kick inside the 50. Diving at it was Danaher. It landed a fraction short of him. Off hands, out of play. Inside the 50 now, the Bombers by 43.
It's been probably 10-15 years since Essendon's had a legitimate good small defender.
Mark Johnson was the last one.
Thrown in, one down by Warnock to Carazzo, handballed straight back into bodies, and they jump on top. It comes out, Walker a little iffy on the handball into the corridor, but it might come up okay with Waite getting a handball to two. He's got to be quick as Wenderlich came late, applied enough pressure to affect the kick, and juggling, taking the mark was Hooker. Initially was to spoil, but it came back to him, so he marked it. Heppel now, handball's back. Oh, long kick. It's going to fall a little bit short. I thought Hooker was celebrating. Instead, he was a bit angry with the kick. Thought he kicked a 65-metre drop punt goal.
Blues on the way out. Robinson gives it to Curnow. Off to Walker. Run down to the tackle by Howlett. Zaharakis gets it. He's down by Robinson, but he slipped out of the tackle. Hand pass to Heppel inside the 50. Goddard looking for the body. Forgot about the ball. And it swung away from him and out of play.
He would have fallen for Greg Hall celebrating on Bereavement.
Yeah, I thought he was in the middle, jumping up and down like he'd done something special.
Defender who hasn't kicked many goals, his eyes lit up, I think, when he saw the goals.
Right forward pockets for the Bombers. Knocked straight down to Hocking, who was given a long time with the footy. He's dragged off it by Murphy, gets it back, slings it at goal. It dribbles across the face, and Walker sees it out of play. Hocking should have got knocked off holding the ball there. And he's a little bit worse for wear as he rises.
So the throw in, deep right forward pocket for Essendon, kicking down the city end. So many players around this contest. It's really hard to know who will emerge with the footy. This really is like rugby union at the moment. Near the top of the goal square, Wenderlich has his hands on it. He's tackled and will be thrown up. Thrown up quickly. Windlick was third man up. Comes to Danaher, tackle without the footy, no free kick. Trying to break the congestion for the Blues. It came out. Now it's coming back. It could be a goal. It squeezed through. Stanton. Out of absolutely nothing. Stanton now has two as well. It was just bobbling around in a sea of players, probably 25 players around the contest. And it just sort of fell in Stanton's hands, and he said, I might as well have a shot. And it never deviated, even though he was kicking the snap. I think he even surprised himself. Essendon 10-5-65, Carlton 2-4-16.
That one hurts because they'd worked reasonably hard, Carlton, through the last 3 or 4 minutes, and not to concede a goal. To go into the half-time break with all of Essendon's dominance, only 7 goals down, I think, you could look at that and go, we might be a chance in the second half, but those late ones really hurt.
49 points the margin. Stanton tried again in the middle. Carazzo had a go. Watson pulled it clear. Hand passed it back. Bagley gets hold of it, throws it onto the right boot, kick up to half forward. Jamison makes the spoil over Carlisle, who then knocks it to Hocking. Hocking runs up to centre half forward. He spreads it beautifully to Hardingham, who takes the mark 49 from goal. Well, he's got the scent of the goals tonight. He won't have a crack from long range. Around the perimeter he goes for Stanton. He's been called to play on. He'll have to pop it back to Hardingham. His play just wouldn't open up.
I think he can kick this far. I've seen him. He's lobbed it to the top of the square.
See if they can get a mark. Down there was Carlisle. Across the front was White for the Blues. He punches it through for a behind, and it makes it 50 points neat with a couple of minutes to play in the half.
50 points. Essendon 10-6. Carlton 2-4. Long kick back into play. Again, it's going to be to a contest, wanting Henderson. Hooker was right there. It gets to the back. Stanton first there for Essendon, shovels out a handball to Hibbert, missed him. Stanton goes back again, handballs to Hooker. Hooker sells the dummy, handballs inboard, a little ambitious. Curnow for the Blues goes off the ground, goes and collects his own footy. Heppel tackles him, going in. Thomas breaks the tackle. Thomas kicks in the path of Garlett, running back towards goal, and Garlett's marked 20 out straight in front. Just at times, the Bombers getting a little fancy, Rammer, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Particularly late in the quarter. That football should have been down the line by probably Hooker. I think he was the one that eventually was out, and that football should have just been kicked long. Now they're going to play with the goal.
So Garlett, 25 out, straight in front. The umpire moves a little to his right, but it is a goal. And the Blues have got 3-4-22. Essendon 10-6-66 on the stroke of half-time.
Well, I think that's the first really easy goal that Carlton's been able to kick tonight. Again, it was on the back of some really good work from Curnow. He initially cut off the ball with a little toe poke, and then he was able to pick up the ball and just give time for his the players around him to make up the ground and then get onto the loose ball. And Thomas was able to get the ball in his hands and just a nice little deft pass inside 50 to Garlett.
66 plays 22. We've gone half an hour in this second term. The bounce favours Warnock. He ended up knocking it to Carlisle. Throws it under the boot and rolls it up near half forward for Essendon. Coming out hard was Danaher. He went low and he took the legs of Simpson, which he simply can't do. Simpson sideways with his kick for Walker. Walker's only got options to the side. He went for Jamison. He basically stubbed his toe, and that ball ran away from Jamison and out of play. Martin Blake on the boundary.
Stevie Johnson mentioned Jared Wade. He's been starved of the ball tonight. I think they've only had about 13 inside 50s. Had a long chat on the phones to the coaching box when he came off before.
At the throw-in, Simpson runs onto it at the back, kicks into the middle. Fletcher came across the front of Rowe, didn't affect the spoil. Rowe gets the ball, gives it to Buckley. The Blues with one late flurry inside the 50. Kick was ill-directed, though. And controlling the airwaves there is Hooker to intercept.
And he goes short to Fletcher. Last moments of the first half. Fletcher short to Hurley, who will look up and go to the southern side with his pass. And they can build if they wanted to, if they had enough time, but they don't. But it's certainly been a red and black first half here at the MCG on a Sunday night. Half-time score, Essendon 10-6-66, Carlton 3-4-22. The goal kickers for the Bombers, 3 to Hardingham, and then 2 each to Stanton, Winderlick and Goddard, and a single to Heath Hocking. And for the Blues, all singles in the quarter number 2 to Menzel, to Garlett and to Tui. So at half-time, it is the Bombers by 44 after leading by 36 points at quarter-time.
It's all unfolding on Grandstand AFL here on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital. Adam Ramanauskas and Steve Johnson with their thoughts to half-time.
Well, look, it's actually not this is going to sound quite strange, but it's actually not a bad result for Carlton, considering Essendon's dominance of that first half. To go in only 7 goals down, I think is not a bad result, and that margin is not insurmountable. Carlton could easily come out and kick the first 3 or 4 in this third quarter, and then we have a game on our hands all of a sudden. That's what Essendon need to be extremely careful of. They've dominated possession, but they've only, so of their 221 possessions, they've only had 26 inside 50s. So they definitely like to possess the ball through the middle of the ground. Simply in that first half, Essendon ran harder. They ran harder and they continually ran past Carlton players to create space and create the next chain of play for their teammate to go to. And that's, I think, if Carlton can clean that up in that third quarter, where, you know, don't allow Essendon to have all these uncontested marks which they had in that first half, because if if not, the result will just continue to be the same that it was. If Carlton can tidy up that area of the game and really start to put some enormous pressure on Essendon's disposal, we've seen how confident Essendon are now. They're actually committing a lot of numbers forward. And twice in that quarter, Carlton were able to get them on the rebound and kick two goals out of that. So that's something that Essendon need to be mindful of. What I think's impressed me most about the Bombers tonight so far is their spread. When they've taken a mark, whether it be in the centre of the ground, deep in their defence, you just watch all their plays. They spread the field. And that's in complete contrast to Carlton, who when they take a mark, whether it be deep inside their defence, they don't spread the field enough, so they're having to go down the line, and that's just going to a one-on-one contest, which is really playing into Essendon's hands. So Carlton need to probably have a look at Essendon and go, well, okay, they're spreading the field and it's putting enormous pressure on our defence, on our team defence. So if we're able to do that and put some pressure on Essendon the other way, we might be able to score a little bit more freely.
Yeah, what's been frustrating from a Carlton perspective is just when they've got the ball and they're in the middle of the ground and you see options forward for them, but they're looking to take the ball to the side and Essendon are able to squeeze them in, and it makes it really hard. That's exactly what you want your opposition to do when they're in the middle of the ground. You want them to kick wide, you want to give your defenders time to roll around and cut off the options forward of the footy, and they're playing into Essendon's hands too much for mine. What I'd like to see is the players through the midfield getting forward and engaging the spare Essendon defenders so that player can kick the ball long to a contest and then they can get scrapping again. They kicked a couple of goals late in that quarter just purely by scrapping around the contest and getting goals on the back of it. They've clogged up the stoppages in defensive 50, which looks a lot better. The Essendon players certainly don't look as dangerous. Mick's obviously sent a couple of extra forwards down there to do that, and they've lost a little bit of their forward structure, but they're not allowing as many goals late in that quarter.
Well, Carlton are actually +9 in clearances, so they're doing a terrific job there. But with those clearances, they're just kicking it straight to the Essendon players who, and we spoke about it, they've just mopped up across half-back. Hibbert's had 17 possessions for the game, so he's virtually done as he's pleased across that half-back line.
Well, Rema, he only had 3 for that term. So
which is,
a lot of the players, as Stevie said, a lot of the players were getting a lot of the footy across half-back in the first quarter. It wasn't happening in the second. So Mick was able to at least change some of those things. The question I wanted to ask both of you before we go to the news, is it more a coaching thing or a playing thing, the way that the game was played in that first quarter? Because it changed in the second quarter, but was it more Mick changing it or more the players actually doing more what they were supposed to do?
It's hard to say what the instructions from the coach were, but it did look like the Carlton boys were trying to get easy kicks out wide, and I'm not sure if that's they were told to hold on to possession and make Essendon defend as much as possible, but they were just kicking the ball to poor spots, which played into Essendon's hands. So I think later on in that quarter they were prepared to kick to a contest a little bit more, and on the back of that they kicked a couple of goals. So I think the message at half-time's got to be, when you get an opportunity to go forward, Jared Waite, you've got to be sitting 30 metres out from goal. We've got to be able to kick it to you and gull it, and Menzel, you've got to be at his feet. We can't be, there was a couple of occasions in that second quarter where they were 70, 75 metres out from goal. They had a terrific opportunity to kick it in there with numbers in there and create a goal from that, but they decided to try and work the ball around the arc, and there was 3 players out here to kick it to, but they were in no better position than the guy that initially had the ball to start with. So as I said, they've really got to take it upon themselves to just engage the contest, be prepared to play the game in a contest, and hopefully scrap a couple of goals, and you never know what could happen.
The insights of Steve Johnson and Adam Ramanauskas to half-time at the MCG. Essendon 10-6-66, leading Carlton 3-4-22. More, I'll give you the World T20 final score. England made 8 for 105 from their 20 overs. Australia is 1 for 37 after 5 overs. So Australia poised there against England. More from the MCG after the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News read by Mark Adenall. The West Australian Premier, Colin Barnett, has rejected suggestions the performance of the state government was a factor in the Senate election result. Yesterday, Liberal Senators Erica Betts and Dean Smith said voter dissatisfaction with the Barnett government may have adversely affected the Liberal Party vote. Mr Barnett has dismissed the idea.
Well, I wonder if the Liberal Party had done better, whether they would have praised the state party. Look, this was a federal election. It was a by-election. I think in that circumstance it wasn't going to change government, and people therefore voted in a wider way, and the votes drifted away from the major parties.
The United States is to send 2 more warships to Japan to counter what Washington has described as provocative and destabilising actions by North Korea. Speaking after meeting his Japanese counterpart in Tokyo, the US Defence Secretary Chuck Hagel said the ships would join 5 American missile defence vessels already there.
In response to Pyongyang's pattern of provocative and destabilizing actions, including recent missile launches in violation of UN Security Council resolutions, I can announce today that the United States is planning to forward deploy 2 additional Aegis ballistic missile defense ships to Japan by 2017.
Jordanian authorities say 25 people have been hurt in clashes between Syrian refugees and security forces at the Zaatari refugee camp in Jordan. The BBC's James Reynolds reports.
Reports say that the riots in the Zaatari camp began after a Jordanian officer drove into and seriously injured a 4-year-old Syrian child. Refugees threw stones at Jordan's security services. Tents and vehicles were set on fire. Jordanian officers used batons and tear gas to disperse the protesters. The Zaatari camp, which is a short distance from the Syrian border, was set up in July 2012. It now houses more than 100,000 Syrian refugees. They have protested before of poor treatment.
A 37-year-old man's been arrested over the alleged murder of his parents at Encounter Bay, south of Adelaide this afternoon. Police were called to a house after reports of a fight and found a man dead with wounds to his body. Another man was arrested at the scene. A body of a woman was then found at a nearby reserve. Inspector Gus Sikadic says he can't reveal how the man and woman died.
There was a weapon involved, but at this stage we're still looking for that, and other man is actually helping us, and we can't divulge what that is at this stage because we haven't found the weapon and we're waiting for some more information to come from the person.
Police say they have arrested more than 150 people, including alleged bikie club participants, during an 18-month-long investigation of the Gold Coast drug trade. Russell Varley reports.
Detective Superintendent David Hutchinson says Operation Kilo Fraction started in 2012 after police received information about cocaine trafficking on the Gold Coast.
Police will allege that the drugs trafficked by the syndicate were sourced from Sydney and that they were transported to the Gold Coast mainly by vehicles.
Police raided 2 Surfers Paradise nightclubs on Friday night and several residences over the weekend. 3 men are to be extradited from Sydney, Newcastle and Darwin for their alleged involvement in the syndicate. One of the men, Ivan Tessick, has been charged with trafficking and possessing dangerous drugs. Alleged Bandito Sergeant-at-Arms Joshua Downey was also arrested in Airlie Beach and charged with trafficking and supplying dangerous drugs.
25 forgotten World War I soldiers have been formally recognised in a ceremony held in Melbourne South today. A group of volunteers spent 4 years researching bare grave sites at the Brighton Cemetery and found they held the remains of returned diggers. One of the graves belonged to Private Frederick Kimpton. His great-grandson says he returned to Australia after the war despite being shot in the head in Anzac Cove.
Frederick died 7 years after he returned because the concussion that he suffered from the shell not only gave him concussion, but it burst his right lung, and then he was discharged from the AIF with chronic bronchitis.
A man's body has been pulled from the water at a beach on the New South Wales mid-north coast. A member of the public called police just after midday today when they found fishing equipment and a backpack on rocks at Port Macquarie. Police and the Surf Life Saving Club began a search. They found the body of a 46-year-old man at about 3:30 this afternoon. Police say the death isn't suspicious. To the national weather for Monday: Sydney a possible shower, 23 degrees. Melbourne partly cloudy, 25. Brisbane a shower or 27. In Perth mostly sunny, 27. Adelaide a possible late shower, 26. Hobart partly cloudy, 21. Canberra partly cloudy, 20. Darwin a shower or a storm, 33. ABC News.
New images have emerged of what appears to be...
For some families, there were no words to describe.
Now, what the police are saying is that...
Are you once again being a little bit...
Emergency alerts were sent to nearby residents, warning people
In these valleys, the army is really battling.
Those that do arrive face another dangerous journey if they decide.
Know the story with ABC News.
Sunday footy.
Grandstand AFL.
Palms it into the path of Howlett. Beats a good handball to Bagley. 60 out. Short pass and Hardingham's got it again.
They're going to get beaten by 100 points playing like this, Carlton.
Hardingham straight in front. Will kick from 45 for his third. The goal umpire has not moved, apart from arching his back and watching it go over his head.
High ball up to full forward. Walker, big lead, couldn't quite bring it in. Snap under the pack is a good one. It's a goal to Menzel.
Thrown in, Rowe wins it down for the Blues. Sharko by Winderlich, handball to Hocking. Hocking got some time, goes at goal from the pocket and kicks the goal. Garlett was lurking, lost control of it, comes out now to Tui from 45. I fancy him from here. Yes, he's got it. Pop it up into the pocket. He wants Goddard, who uses the body, stretches and marks. Right forward pocket, Goddard with the drop punt, threads it. And he has got two. Kicks in the path of Garlett, running back towards goal, and Garlett's marked 20 out straight in front. 25 out straight in front. The umpire moves a little to his right, but it is a goal, and the Blues have got 3.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio, online and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Half-time on Sunday night footy. Essendon 10-6-66, leading Carlton 3-4-22. Earlier today, the Giants beat Melbourne 10-19-79 to the Demons 7-5-47. So 32-point winners, the Giants. In the final term, it was 5-7 to 2 goals, 2 each to Cameron, Patton and Kelly for the winners. North Melbourne came from behind Port Adelaide to win. The Kangas by 7 points, 14-13-97 to the Power 13-12-90. It's 5 goals to 2 in that final term. 3 for Harvey and Thomas, 3 for Schultz, and Angus Monfrey's got a nasty hamstring injury in all of that, so he's going to miss a period of weeks for certain. 3 for Gibson, 2 for Greenwood, 1 for Broadbent were the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. In the T20 World Cup final, Australia chasing 106 to win, 2 for 53. So making reasonable progress there. And in the swimming tonight, the final night of the National Championships, the Commonwealth Games trials, with a team to be announced a little later on. Eamon Sullivan won the 50-metre freestyle in 21.9. James Magnuson tied for third and must go through now a swim-off with Matt Aboud for a place in the Commonwealth Games 50 metres. So Aboud's not on the team yet. He would need to win that. Magnuson trying to add the 50 to the 100 that he's qualified for. Bronte Barrett won the women's 400 metres freestyle. Emily Seaborn won the women's 50-metre backstroke. And Daniel Tranter won the 200 metres individual medley. And Adelaide is tonight confirming that Taylor Walker has suffered hamstring soreness after training on Saturday. There were expectations that he'd play in the Sandful over the Easter weekend. That is all going to be on hold. So not for the first time. Tex Walker's immediate future is most unclear. And Adelaide, who is in desperate need of some good news, just can't take a trick as far as injuries are concerned. Whitey, give us all of the numbers to half-time of this encounter.
Okay, firstly, the most important one of all, the score. Essendon 10-6-66, leading Carlton 3-4-22. So the Bombers by 44 points. Kicks 134 to 102 Essendon's way. Handballs 87 to 66 Essendon's way. Contested possessions, Carlton leads that by 1, 61 to 62. Marks Essendon's way 82-45. Overall disposals 221 to 168. As you'd think it'd be an Essendon advantage there. Clearances, Carlton plus 11. Tackles, Carlton plus 8. But low count on both, really. Essendon only 20 tackles, Carlton 28. Inside 50s, there's where there's the big discrepancy. 26 to 13. So only 13 inside 50s in perfect conditions for footy for the Blues. Individually for Essendon, Hibbert had 17, but he did have 14 in the first quarter. Merritt 16, Bagley 15, Hurley 14, Hocking 13, Chapman, Goddard, Heppel, Watson, Stanton and Myers all 12. And for Carlton, Simpson has 16, Gibbs 15, Walker 13, and then 11 each to Everett, Jamison, and also 10 each to Murphy, Tui, Carazzo and also Curnow. Dale Thomas has had 7 disposals, and of some of the big name players, Garlett's only had 4 disposals, Henderson's only had 3 with 2 behinds, and Jared Waite only 5 disposals for the Blues as well. So as I said, Essendon 10-6-66 leading Carlton 3-4-22.
And the last of the swimming news is Mac Horton has beaten Jordan Harrison in the 1500 metres freestyle. Horton has gone a PB of 14:51.55, so that secures the junior world record. And now where is it here? He's the 4th fastest all-time in Australian behind Hackett, Perkins and Harrison. So the depth is returning to the 1500 metres. Horton and Harrison are the 2 for the future there after there's been a drought in the aftermath of Hackett's retirement. Steve Johnson, Adam Ramanauskas, the team's coming back out on the ground, so the resumption a few minutes away. Can you see Bomber Thompson's influence on Essendon? Can you see similarities to what he brought to Geelong?
Yeah, I can certainly see by the way they're moving the ball. Bomber was always really big on, especially from half-back, trying to take the ball through the middle, clearing space for each other. So if you've been manned up, to really get out of the corridor and push hard forward, and he backs his players to really pinpoint passes, and that's what we're seeing throughout the first 2.5 games of the season. They're taking a lot more marks than the opposition. They've obviously worked really hard on their skills throughout the pre-season, and it's really showing. So on the back of some really good attack for them too, I think it's really setting up their defence, able to get the ball deep inside 50, and they're putting a really strong defensive forward 50 press on, and that's allowing them, when they don't kick goals and the ball gets rebounded out, that they're in a really good position to then attack back once they turn the ball over. So I think that's a lot of his influence coming out.
Do you enjoy seeing him back at it? I mean, he seems so committed to it and so dedicated to it. Obviously, his interest waned in the last days at Geelong, and he wanted out. He said he'd never do it again, but he's absolutely connected to it at the moment.
Yeah, it's been good to see. I've just watched him, as everyone has in the media, and he seems to be really enjoying it. And apparently, from what I've heard, he's been back at his ruthless best. He's, behind closed doors, he gets really animated, and there's no doubt, when Essendon players aren't playing their role, he's pretty direct in his feedback. And from all reports, that's right back in him. I think he sat back a fair bit in the especially last year, sat back behind James Hird and just gave him a few pointers, but he's really taken on the responsibility of the coach this year again, and it certainly seems to be showing with how happy he is in his press conferences as well.
So I'm interested, Stevie, that with you as an expressive player, like to be able to play attractive football, and did he encourage that, and does he encourage that? Or is it someone that you sometimes get in a bit of trouble for doing the creative thing?
Well, the simple answer is when it comes off, he likes it, and when it doesn't, he doesn't. But he was always really good for me. He, as I said, he backed me to make whatever decision I made. If it was a really bad mistake, he might get on the headphones and give me a quick spray, but always gave me a lot of confidence to seek out whatever option I wanted to do, and they come through. We used to train really hard. We used to train like we were playing, so anything that I'd done out in the game would have been rehearsed at training, and if he had a problem, he would have pulled me up there.
What are Bombers' non-negotiables as a coach? Because we see the Geelong team, so much flair. Essendon now playing with so much flair. What are his non-negotiables?
Well, you see the skills. They're on the back of some... The main things that he liked is contested football, outnumbering the opposition. So when the ball went to a contest, he wanted the next player in. If it was a 2v2, he wanted the next player in to be a Geelong player. That would be the same with Essendon. Outnumber around the footy, that gives you your best chance to win the contested ball. And then you kick the ball into your forward 50 and you put a really strong press on from there. You put numbers in at the contest. If you don't kick the ball from the initial entry inside 50, when it gets rebounded out, you're in a really good position to then mark the ball and attack back with a slingshot goal.
Steve Johnson with us on Grandstand AFL. It's Essendon by 44 points at the start of the third term.
And we're underway with Warnock winning the first tap, but Watson the first handball. Gets it to Zaharakis, who gave it to Ashby, who got overwhelmed. The ball spills out towards the members' side. Yaron there for Carlton, went through his legs. Fletcher, little underground handball was clever to Heppel, who links up with Merritt, who goes defensive with his handball close to the boundary to Fletcher, flicks it over the top to Hurley on his left, kicks back just forward to the members' wing towards Hardingham, kept it in front, did okay, and Merritt came through. His kick was a little iffy, close to the boundary, and it falls over on the bounce before Gibbs could pick it up, and that's happened right in front of us on the members' wing. Thrown in. Carlisle and Warnock. Warnock gets to the front, tried to knock it to Carazzo, and he handballed it straight to Zaharakis, who kicks towards the 50-metre line. Winderlich was there, got a bad bounce. Jamison worked well with Simpson, getting the handball across. Back to Simpson, he fumbles it. Hocking crashes through, handballs to Chapman with the snap to a vacant square. It bounces home. That is the Chappie snap. And that is a devastating blow to the Blues. Essendon 11-6-72 now, 50 points up, equal game high over Carlton 3-4-22. The Blues looked like they were going to start blitzing down the southern side, but it broke down. Adam Ramaskas.
Well, they had to get that first goal, Carlton, but to Essendon's credit, they just applied that pressure, and that's what comes with, I guess, that smaller forward line, where they're able to apply pressure and just makes you nervous. It makes you nervous when you have the football in your hand. Hocking won a really important contested football with Simpson and just barged through, able to give the handball over to Chapman. And we've seen Chapman do it on so many occasions, that snapshot for goal.
Essendon by 50. Warnock wins the tap in the middle. Carazzo's onto the footy. Hand passes out to the wing and Yaron's away. He tucks it under the arm, has a bounce, closes on the 50. Can't quite steady. Kicks out into the pocket. Spent it well. And Ellard on the lead, takes the mark. He is very wide out though. He'll be outside the field of play. The mark is set 25 metres from goal. So this is a difficult assignment. David Ellard makes his approach on a straight line. He kicks the right foot drop punt, unerringly straight. That is a wonderful kick. And an immediate answer from the Blues to reset things at 44 points. 4-4 to 11-6.
Really good play there from Yaron. He took it on. He waited for the option to open up, and a beautiful kick on the left foot out in front of Allard. And he was very confident. He ran in a straight line. Normally, if you're out that wide, you like to creep a couple of steps in and open up the angle, but he just slotted it straight through the middle.
If you were to kick that in a drop punt situation there and you try and open the angle, does it hook back or does it tend to go the other way?
It actually goes the other way if you try and pull it at the last second, but if you can get out a couple of steps early and then straighten up, that's probably the way to do it.
Masterclass session from Stevie J. From the middle, it's Joe Watson getting the handball to Zaharakis, to Myers, all handballs. Now the kick down the line on the outside of the boot was a little iffy there, but it gets to at least half forward for Essendon. It was Bagley with the kick. The Blues mucking around with it at half back. Jamison getting the handball to Gibbs, in trouble, in traffic, handball to Buckley. He coughs it up. Chapman comes in. Tackle comes from Carazzo, and they sit on it, and the umpire will call for it and throw it up at left half forward for Essendon, attacking down to the punt road end.
In the Women's T20 World Cup final, Australia 2 for 70, chasing 106 for victory against England. So Australia in great shape there. At the stoppage at half forward for Essendon, bodies went in various directions. Zaharakis spilled out of it, and Carazzo got pushed in the back.
This is where I'd like to see the Carlton players get on their bike, and if they kick it to a contest, they get numbers at the front.
So the kick up to half forward where Rowe leads Fletcher. Takes the mark, gives the hand pass to Walker with some good run and some dare to 2-on-2 out into the pocket, which becomes 2-on-1 as Henderson was overwhelmed, but he opened it up, he grabbed the footy, he hand passed to Allard and he floated it through for his second. Henderson, a terrific job against two defenders. And Ellard was the one who got free in the square. A couple in a row for the Blues. They trail now by 38 points.
Well, I think both of those Essendon defenders there, I think it was Hurley, Hooker and Hibberd, expected that football to go out of bounds. But really well done by Henderson because he kept his feet in that contest. Usually see a lot of forwards go to ground, but he kept his feet, and then just the presence of mind really just to give that handball over to Allard, who now that's his second goal for the quarter. And the first time Carlton have kicked 2 in a row for the game.
The unlikely fire started, David Allard. Probably should add that it only just squeezed in for a goal as well. From the middle, it's Murphy getting the clearance for the Blues as he kicks it out to the southern wing. Again, it's a bit of a foot race. First there will be Henderson for the Blues. Gets the handball up to Walker. Walker from a standing start. He'll kick it deep into the pocket. Up goes the pack. Down comes the pack. Carlton with the footy. Wait. Has a bit of time from the pocket. Across the face from 45. And only a minor score.
But
the
that's
Blues
exactly what we
energy is a lot
talked
better.
about. That's what we talked about. If they can kick it to a contest, get numbers front and square, that's where they're going to get their goals from.
37 points, Essendon's lead now.
Hibberd on the kick in, goes out to his right for Chapman. Clear of the defensive arc. Ashby is on the lead, the debutant. He turns onto the right boot. He sees Howlett free on the wing, free enough to take the mark before Waite jars it free. Heppel getting forward of the ball did well to open up the space. He slides into the mark, rises and kicks it up to Carlisle. So each of these has been perfectly placed. Now Carlisle's 60 out from goal. He spreads out to the far right from the defensive 50. Merritt marked and he puts it to the hot spot. And he did Winderlick every favour in the world as he led up and took the mark.
A smart play by both Winderlick and Merritt there. Merritt could see the space, so he put it to that space, but Winderlick held his opponent away from that space, so terrific play by both Essendon players.
It's close in, directly in front. Jason Winderlick puts up his third. Essendon re-establish a 43-point lead. 12-6 to 5-5. We've gone 7 minutes of this third term.
That's where the important lies, I feel, in this Essendon team with Winderlick. He'll play as a permanent forward because his body just won't allow him to get up into the midfield anymore. But 3 goals tonight, he can play as that player, that quick leading forward, or he can play as that high half forward. So he's critical structurally to this Essendon team.
He's a very smart football brain as well. So in a deep forward situation, he knows where to lead.
That's a perfect example. He knew where the space was in front of him, just held his opponent and made Merritt kick it there.
I reckon Jackson Merritt might be having the best game he's ever had in an Essendon jumper. From the restart, crashing in was Melksham from the side of the square. It's still inside the centre circles, the footy, and the umpire has to come in and call for it.
Essendon's still going at 81% with their disposal efficiency, which is really off the charts, isn't it, Jono?
It is, Rama.
Merritt, 19 disposals to lead all comers. Warnock has bashed it, I reckon, 30 metres Essendon's way. It's going to be okay because Thomas picked it up and handball to Murphy and kick to Gibbs on the wing who marks. Back to Thomas, handballs to Murphy, gets away from the Chapman tackle, kicks towards full forward. Good spoil there from Hooker. No mark taken. Coming through Robinson for the Blues. Dinks a handball up to Murphy who kept running. Handballs to Allard. He'll dink it over the top. This is important for Yaranow. He slipped over at the critical moment. Umpire says play on and Essendon will clear, just overwhelming the Blues with plenty of numbers and plenty of handballs. Although it's coming back a free kick, it's an Essendon free kick. And they'll get out of it in the end, Essendon.
I love that set up from Carlton back at that midfield stoppage. That's what they need to do a bit more of. Get a bit more creative with Warnock having that dominance in the ruck.
Bagley kicks it to Ashby.
It had 3 opportunities there, Carlton, to kick the goal. Murphy, Allard, Yaron overruns the football.
Ashby to Milksham, who's been called to play on 25 from the defensive goal. He'll go long around the wing and Danaher stretches up into the pack to take the mark and he lands fluently and drops it powerfully onto the left boot. Kick up to half forward. Goddard was behind Everett. He made the spoil and he catches Walker and dispossesses him. Myers tripped over going over the pack and lost the footy. Rose shared it around with Curnow, who worked it out the back. The kick now comes from Walker to Yaron. Hand passes to himself. Worked off it though. Merritt was having none of it. He works the turnover. Allows Chapman to get away. We kick up to half forward for Goddard.
So Goddard on the boundary on the southern side. Kicks deep towards full forward. Hardingham in a one-on-one with Tui. He couldn't take it on the second bounce, but then he broke away from Tui, but it beat him out of play for a throw-in before he could control the footy. And it's only now 30 metres out from Essendon's goal. The throw-in. Carlisle and Warnock. Third man up was Danaher. Tried to get it down to Hocking. Went without it. Gibbs gets some sort of handball out of the congestion. Only as far as Essendon, though. Bagley's there. He lost it. He gets it again. He gets tackled. Got a quick handball from Carlisle. They're going backwards, Essendon, but still have possession. Hibbard getting the handball to Stanton, who squeezes it out wide, and Merritt takes it out on the southern wing, coming up for his 22nd disposal.
Plenty of them have been good ones. Merritt kicks up to half forward. He's gone for Chapman. He was caught behind Curnow, worked his way into the contest and sees it out of play.
They always seem to have the get-out kick tonight, Essendon. When they're under pressure, they seem they could just dink a little 15 or 20 metre kick around the corner to someone who doesn't have an opponent on them. So it's really good play by the Bombers.
Right half forward for Essendon. Melksham went off the ground, got it inside the 50. To his hand pass to Yaron. He didn't get it. Danaher tried for Watson. He didn't get it either. Dale Thomas retrieves it, gave it off to Walker, to Gibbs, to Robinson, and back to Walker, who goes for a sprint through the middle of the MCG. Had a bounce, he slipped as he kicked it. It should come up all right, though. It grabbed it inside the 50. Allard overran it. Hibbard tried to work him past it. Gibbs retrieves it for the Blues. Hand pass to Robinson. He snaps at goal. It comes up short. Hooker dropped the mark in the goal square. Still in it is Henderson. He slips his hand pass backward. It's chaotic stuff. Robinson from the boundary swings it at goal. Almost. It's banged into the posts. Rushed into the posts. And Essendon's lead is 42 points.
I think you'd be a little bit happier if you're a forward in the Carlton team in this second half. They've obviously been told to take a few risks through the middle of the ground with their ball users, and Walker and those guys are taking off a bit more now.
Oh, Hibbard's kicked to himself and then coughed it up with a pass straight to Robinson when looking for Fletcher. And Robinson, who hit the post before, this time has a set shot kick. He's going to go short in the pocket. Oh, it hangs in the air. Stanton came late and spoiled Curnow. So the Blues are mucking around with the forward line again. It comes out Essendon's way in the end. Heppel just again overwhelming the Blues with numbers. Heppel got the handball to Fletcher. Now to Hurley. Back to Fletcher, all close to the boundary. Now Fletcher kicks long to the wing. White and Waite really mucked it up for each other then. They now get it over the boundary at least for a throw-in. But it was Winderlick against two key position players. Carlton should have won the footy there and they didn't. It'll be thrown in instead. 13 gone in the third.
At the throw-in, Warnock to the front. Danaher, though, got the footy, kicks to an open forward line. Goddard came up at it, tried the hand pass to Winderlick. It was intercepted by Tui. Winderlick lays the tackle. It's in dispute, 55 from the Essendon goal. And in a pack, Heppel pulls it out before he was down in the tackle by Murphy, but he got straight into his back. And an Essendon ball, 60 from goal. Heppel's going to use this particularly short, just the 15 metres for Melksham. It's crowded deep, but they are even numbers out of the square. Melksham called to play on. He's lofted it right to the teeth of goal. Hardingham reaches up from behind, off hands. White sees it through for a rushed behind. Essendon by 43 points.
Quick reload from the Blues to Thomas in the back pocket, who's away and running with a bounce, crossing defensive 50. He'll kick a zooming ball towards Waite. Didn't get there on the full, but he gets a free kick and advantage is paid as Carazzo continues with the football, kicking forward to the wing towards Allard in a one-on-one. Couldn't take the mark. At the drop, Carazzo for Carlton. Inboard handball to Robinson. Over to Allard again, who's getting a lot of the footy, but he was out of play when he kicked it then. He kicked it deep into the forward line, but it's coming all the way back to about 80 metres around from the Blues' goal. Still a fraction in attack on the members' side of the MCG. 14 gone now in term number 3. It is still Essendon by 43 points.
Australia on the brink of winning the Women's T20 World Cup final. Just one run to win, 4 for 105. So scores level, but plenty of wickets and time in hand. At half forward for the Blues, Robinson's caught with the footy. And we'll get a ball up following the throw-in. Meg Lanning made 44 from 29 balls. Danaher wins the tap to the side. Walker had a hand pass, didn't amount to anything. Spinning out of the pack was Zaharakis, but he lost the footy. Carazzo has a go. And then the next pack forms right against the boundary. And it was Buckley who was underneath that pack with Heppel holding on for grim death. The ball up, Carazzo dragged off it. Rowe gets it to his boot. He wobbles it forward. It'll bounce up near the 50, and that's as far as it will go as it's punched out of play.
Very good weekend for Carey grammarians. Meg Lanning from Carey, Jackson McRae from Carey, Jason Ashby making his debut from Carey tonight. Thrown in, Rowe wins it straight down to Heppel of Essendon. He kicks back towards the wing. It pitches just inside the field of play and goes over for a throw-in.
That's the win for Australia. Win by 6 wickets to win the T20 World Cup final. And Elise Perry scores the winning runs. 30 from 31 balls for her.
Continues her amazing run. Essendon have the footy on the members' wing. Watson with the inboard handball to Melksham. Now to Zaharakis. Inboard handball to Stanton. Front left corner of the square. Kicks it in the path of Chapman. Now Curnow is on the chase. Chapman will get there first. Curnow harassing him. The ball's on the ground. Chapman has got a little bit of support now from Howlett, but the Blues did win out in the end in that 2-on-2 contest. They get it towards the southern wing, and that's where it all breaks down. But at least he's out of play for a neutral situation out on the southern side. Up to 16 minutes now in the third term. It's still Essendon by 43.
At the throw-in, it's Rowe and Carlisle. Rowe wins the tap, skidding out the back of the pack. Gibbs was wrapped up as the ball arrived, but he got taken high. And it's a Carlton free kick at half-back. Oh, Gibbs kicked that hopelessly, but it did land near enough to Simpson for him to go and get. He kicks up to the 50. Bouncing ball taken by Henderson, who's taken in turn by Hooker. Ball spills out. Winderlich gets hold of it. Hand pass over the top to Watson. Watson will feed it out to Zaharakis, but he missed his target as well. It's degenerated a little bit. Buckley gets hold of it right against the boundary. He drops it in the tackle of Zaharakis, and it's back out of play.
If Joe was playing the handball game on the footy show or something like that, he would have missed the board with the handball. Get down to Martin Blake shortly. Thrown in. Carlisle and also Rowe. Rowe wins it down off the ground by Watson. A little ambitious into the middle, but it'll come off okay because Howlett just runs away from Gibbs. His kick out wide is not a good option. A bit sloppy. Goddard didn't quite keep it in play. Picked it up. He handballed to Heppel, but the boundary umpire said he was out. Down where Martin Blake is sitting.
Both the subs, Martin Gleeson and Tom Bell, are available. Boys, just wanted to ask Ramo what he thinks about the job done on Jobe Watson by Carazzo.
Yeah, look, we mentioned that at the start of the game. I think it's been really good so far. Watson started to get his hands on the football a little bit more in this quarter. He Jobe's up to 17 possessions. Carazzo's had 16. So, look, I think they're breaking even at the moment, but an important job that Carazzo's doing.
The ball went back out of play from the throw-in in a very similar spot. Left half forward for the Bombers. Carlisle wins it down. Good handball to Merritt. Now centering ball. It's about 40 out from goal. Goddard gets that 12 and gets crunched. But it doesn't matter. It'll be a goal to Chapman. He runs into the open goal and kicks it into the third tier. Huge collision. 30 metres out from goal. Chapman decided, nah, I'm staying down. And it was a very good idea. He's kicked his second.
Well, yeah, if I'm playing on Chappie in that situation, deep inside forward 50, I can tell you what, Chappie's not going to go up for the grab. He's going to be looking for the crumbs every day of the week. And he's coming off. The Essendon supporters have certainly warmed to him because just about every person I can see around the bench at the moment is clapping Chappie.
And it was Michael Jamieson who came in other direction, absolutely crunched Brendan Goddard, but it was Goddard going up against 3 Carlton players. So they've just got to think more in defence there, Carlton. Chapman stays down, and as Jono said, he's always going to stay down. Just got to know your opponent.
Winderlich stayed down as well, so they had the pack covered front and back. Out of the middle, the Blues will win first possession. Buckley gave it to Menzel. Good kick up to half forward. Mark taken by Gibbs, who steers it onto the chest of Rowe on the lead. And that was a fluent move out of the middle.
Well, it was much better. You look at Menzel's kicking ability there. out to Gibbs, and then there's a space. It doesn't allow Essendon's midfielders to roll back and clog up that space inside 50.
Sam Rowe, who's been required to do a lot of ruck work tonight, as well as getting forward. It's his first shot at goal. Makes the approach to 50. Rowe with the right foot drop punts. It's left and it's missed. It's a behind. Essendon's lead is 48 points.
So Dustin Fletcher will again kick to himself and then go short to Myers. Myers in the back pocket as the Bombers come the members' side towards the wing. Oh, Goddard up early, gets pushed in the back. Free kick advantage should be paid, and Essendon could run the length of the field with Danaher. He's taken 2 bounces. Handballs over the top to Heppel. Waits for it to bounce. 50 out. Kicks to the pocket. Wants Hardingham. Spoil comes from Walker. Danaher kept running. He's exhausted. He couldn't keep it in. He's got his hands on his head and thought, I was going to do what Buddy did a couple of years ago, but thought, nah, not quite at that level yet.
Essendon by 48, deep forward again. Warnock to the front, wins the tap. Oh, clever little tap from Danaher to Heppel, who screws it at goal and rolls it in. That was a deft touch from Danaher to set Heppel away. And it's as far as the lead has been at 54 points. 14-7-91 to Carlton 5-7-37.
I'm not sure whether there was a bit of a miscommunication there with Carlton, because Warnock clearly got the hit out and he hit it directly where he wanted to hit it, but there was just no one there for Carlton. And beautiful pick up there. Heppel on the left foot side for him. Preferred side. Pretty easy kick for him.
Being relatively quiet tonight, Heppel. I know he's up to 19 possessions and a goal, but his influence hasn't really been that big on the game. So to get a goal in that situation obviously extends the lead. Should get him into the game a little bit more.
From the middle, it'll again be a Carlton clearance with Murphy getting the handball to Buckley. Oh, terrific tackle from Watson holding the ball. So Watson to take it for Essendon inside the centre square. Kicks as quickly as he can because Carlisle was coming down, backtracks, 2 bites, free kick. No mark, but free kick. The Blues defence panicked. Menzel was down there and a couple of other Carlton players that you wouldn't think were bona fide defenders.
Is that a free kick?
Well, it's been seen as front-on contact against Menzel. There wasn't much contact.
Front on? He touched his hand.
I think there's a better way Menzel could have done it, though. He could have just disguised it a little bit better and turned as if he was looking at the footy and maybe taken the body.
Carlisle for 4 in a row to Essendon. To the punt road end. It's a little bit right, but comes back beautifully. And now the Bombers are just motoring away now. The lead is 10 goals. Essendon 15-7-97. Carlton 5-7-37. How many of those points go to Watson for the tackle in the middle? How many of the 6?
All of them. There's no... Look, I know Carlisle has to finish off the goal, but that doesn't happen without the ferocious pressure of Joe Watson. And you get that out of your captain. It just resonates through the entire team. So it's just fantastic play by... And it's not necessarily needed. They're 10 goals up now. You don't need to be applying that much pressure, but that's what the captain does.
Bounce back in the middle. Ruckman go at it. Warnock the tap. Hocking is onto the footy though. Kicked it sideways. It wobbled a little the Blues way. On the chase is Menzel. He's got company. Getting underneath was Bagley to create a great contest. Everett tried. He was still under pressure by Hocking. So Essendon applying great pressure once more, and it's out of play.
So was that a free kick to Menzel there, Jerry?
It should have been a free kick against Menzel, shouldn't it? He went over the top of Bagley without having his legs taken, I reckon. Goddard to Carlisle to Hocking. Forward of the play for Melksham. Wants to delay the hand pass to Merritt. Ended up putting it back behind him. He hand passes back to the wing for Heppel, who squeezes a kick off. It was touched on the way through. Simpson takes it. Merritt takes him. Still got to be one in a scramble at ground level. Merritt's having a good term. He grabs it. His kick ricochets the way of Melksham, who puts it into open play for Carlisle. He'll kick it into the forward pocket. Stanton going back. He'll be paid a free kick. Again, the front-on contact from the defender who was just charging at a well-set forward. Against Curnow, Stanton has 2 to his name. Outside the boundary, on the J-curve, expertly done. That's 3 for Stanton, and Essendon surging. 66-point leaders with 5 in a row.
Doing it easy now. That's 5 unanswered goals to the Bombers, and it's really been all through their ball movement. A lot of their ball movement has been the commentary side of the ground. Jackson Merritt, as you mentioned, having a terrific quarter. He's just able to just to force that football forward. I think that was Carlisle who kicked that football into Stanton. But again, here's a free kick there. That front on contact. It's a real hard one to officiate, I feel.
So again, Rama, Essendon for the term 10 inside 50s for 6 goals.
Great efficiency.
And they're coming forward again. Here's Watson. Handballs over his head to Hocking, so they've done that very well, the Bombers. They had Carlton completely flat-footed there, and now the kick from Hocking goes wide to Danaher, left half forward. He looks up. Heppel ran past. He ignored that. Now Danaher's about 70 out from goal. Goes with the ambitious short pass, but that's okay. Hardingham has marked it about 55 metres out from goal, close to the boundary. He'll centre it up to the top of the goal square. Chapman has to beat Warnock. He's in the goal square. At least created a contest. It gets to the back and then goes through for a minor score. So the margin 67 points. Martin Blake.
Tom Bell, Carlton's substitute, is on the ground. He replaces Simon White, who has the red vest.
And there he is marking Bell. He's at the defensive 50 on the turn. He kicks down the line and Waite leads up. Didn't take the mark. Hand pass from ground level. It should come Essendon's way. Hurley's able to flick it up to Myers, who works it around to Goddard. Onto the right boot where the Bombers are well set up near half forward. Merritt takes the mark. Pats the air for Calm. Well, he had a few decent options too if he'd moved it quickly. He's gone to the teeth of goal for Zaharakis. It's off hands. Chapman tries. He swings the boot at it. It's gone across the face of goal, and everyone got hurt in that. Chapman kicked it too close to Simpson, so Simpson's got a bruise on the hip, and Chapman is limping. Didn't quite pan out.
You're right, Stevie. He's such a favourite already. As soon as he got up limping, 50,000 people went, "Oh no!" Throw it in. Myers grabs it. He's tackled to the ground, and the umpire looks, and it comes out. Comes out Carlton's way. Walker hacks it out of the congestion. Oh, good defensive work there from Bell. Knocked it down for the Blues just when it looked like it was going to be an Essendon mark. It's in the middle. Bit of a scrap. And coming through again was Bagley. Handballs to Hocking. Defensive handball to Fletcher.
You watch how Chappie's limp comes good here, boys.
They'll send it up to Hooker. He goes wide to the southern side to Watson. He collected the loose footy. Handballs back to Ashby. He'll go very wide with his kick. Out to the southern side. So Essendon a little sloppy here, but they've still got possession. And now the little kick over the top, wanting Bagley. It doesn't quite get that far. And it goes out of play. The kick coming from Merritt. Merritt's up to, he's had 11 for the quarter, Jared. And for the match, he's had 27. This is a real breakout game for him.
So thrown in on the wing. Warnock takes it cleanly out of the ruck, throws it onto the boot, gains good territory. Fletcher in front, Hurley at the back. Hurley darts back after the footy. Menzel takes him to ground to keep it in dispute. Trying to get through is Bagley. He's hitting the tackle. And it'll be balled up 55 out from the Carlton goal. Physio out with Chapman at centre half forward. Ball's at the other end. Swipe boundary side from the ball up. Hocking did a good job down to Merritt, who's got it again in this term. He's racked with indecision this time. He kicks down the line. He's put it out in front of Winderlich and Yaron. Winderlich, tremendous punch to try to set Zaharakis away. He just couldn't quite get clear of Simpson. Turns, kicks for Chapman. Tui made the spoil. Simpson, Walker gets the footy right against the boundary. Hand pass into Curnow. Curnow back edge of the centre square. Goes on a veering run. A couple of bounces into the centre square now. And he unloads up forward where Menzel is loose at the 50. He marks, turns onto the left boot and kicks a lovely long goal. Troy Menzel with his seconds. And the Blues end an ugly run against them. There's 61 points the wrong side of it. 6-7-43 to Essendon. 16-8-104. 30 minutes up in the third term.
Well, attacking through the centre of the ground. It was really well done. I think it was Curnow who kicked that football. Didn't look that neat and tidy, but it gets the desired result. Menzel now multiple goal kicker for the boys.
Just looking ahead to next week, Essendon's got Fremantle at Patterson's. I'm not sure what you think, Rama, but maybe take Watson off and freshen him up. He hasn't had his best night tonight, but a fresh Joe Watson against Fremantle could be the difference next week.
Absolutely critical.
Bounced in the middle. Comes out towards Robinson, who feeds a wide handball to Dale Thomas. Handballs to Bell out on the southern wing. Left foot kick towards half forward. Wasn't great. Falls to Ashby. He's dispossessed. Loose footy. They all come in and fight for it. Falls out the back. Stanton gets a handball. Hurley. All a bit sloppy here from the Bombers. Watson in there. Hooker. Neither of those two could pick it up for Essendon. Carlton, can they capitalise? Bell shuffles it out. Now the high kick. Inside the 50 into the pocket. Off hands. It gets to the back. Bagley's first there, wanting the boundary and finding it. And it'll be thrown in deep in the left forward pocket for the Blues.
Dying seconds of the third term. Tossed back into play. Rowe against Danaher. Rowe flicks it to the back. Garlett was there. He flings it onto his boot. It reaches the goal square where it's off hands. Ellard couldn't quite cling onto the mark. It spills away and through from behind. 10 goals neat.
So you'd appreciate it if Chris Scott came to you and said, Steve, we don't want you to play the last quarter. We're going to freshen up for next week.
I probably wouldn't, but I'd understand halfway through next week. 3/4 of footy is a lot different than 4. And I just think that Martin Gleeson, he's played 2 games of footy. Time in the centre is very important.
Now the Blues have won it back at half back. Up towards full forward. Garlett with the big fly but couldn't mark it, and Hurley hammers it out of the danger zone, and that is good enough. Dale Thomas did take the mark, but the Bombers have got to 3/4 time with a 60-point lead. Thomas has gone for goal after the siren from about 90 metres out, fell about 40 metres short. Essendon 16-8-104. 60 points up on Carlton, 6-8-44. I'm just watching Mick Malthouse come out, stalking everybody with hands on hips. He's talking to Warnock at the moment.
It's about that Carlisle mark, no doubt.
Yep. When Carlisle came forward from the Watson holding the ball situation, got the free kick, and Carlisle sprinted forward, and Warnock didn't go with him, which meant that we had that Menzel-Carlisle situation. Okay, the goal kickers to 3/4 time for Essendon. It's a little bit weird on the score sheet. Stanton, Winderlick and Hardingham have all got 3 each. And then 2 each to Chapman and Goddard. Singles to Hocking, Heppel and Carlisle. And for Carlton, it's 2 to Menzel, 2 to Ellard, and then singles to Tui and to Garlett. So at quarter time, it was a 36-point lead. That was clearly where Essendon did the damage. 44 at the half, and now, as I said, 60 points, Essendon.
In the T20 World Cup final, the women's, England 8 for 105, Australia in reply 4 for 106 with 29 balls remaining. Meg Lanning made 44 from 30 balls. Elise Perry 31 not out from 32, and she took 2 for 13 from her 4 overs. So 3 straight titles in that competition for the Southern Stars.
What would be better? Would they have preferred to have won that or the Ashes?
No, that, I reckon.
Oh, no, that's actually quite a good question.
There's only really 2 teams in it in the women, isn't there? Or maybe 3 at a stretch.
Yeah, I'll have to ponder that. That's actually quite a good... Anyway, they've got one out of 2 ain't bad.
Yeah.
And in that last result from the swimming, James Magnuson won the swim-off in the 50, and he is an enigma. He won in the time that actually would have won him the race half an hour earlier. But when it mattered, he couldn't swim that time.
Was he racing against his fellow... Was he racing against his fellow swimmers, or was he trying to break the world record in the 50 as well?
This is a curious fellow. So Magnuson will be in the 50 at the Commonwealth Games as well. This is Grandstand AFL and ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
In 2014, experience more live sporting choice with ABC Grandstand.
AFL,
Cricket,
A-League,
NRL,
tennis,
and the 2014 Commonwealth Games. This year, make ABC Grandstand your place for sports coverage.
switch on,
On radio, online, on digital radio,
Grandstand Digital.
and on your mobile. ABC Grandstand. If it moves, we'll call it. Sunday footy.
Grandstand AFL.
Handballs to Chapman with the snap to a vacant square. It bounces. Home. That is the Chappie snap.
Kicks out into the pocket, spent it well. And Ellard on the lead. Takes the mark. Makes his approach on a straight line. Kicks the right foot drop, punts. Unerringly straight. That is a wonderful kick. 2-on-2 out in the pocket, which becomes 2-on-1 as Henderson was overwhelmed, but he opened it up, he grabbed the footy, half pass to Allard, and he floated it through for his second.
Now centering ball, it's about 40 out from goal. Goddard gets that 12 and gets crunched, but it doesn't matter. It'll be a goal to Chapman. He runs into the open goal and kicks it into the third tier.
Warnock to the front, wins the tap. A clever little tap from Danaher to Heppel, who screws it at goal and rolls it in. He'll kick it into the forward pocket. Stanton going back. He'll be paid a free kick. Outside the boundary, on the J-curve. Expertly done. And Essendon surging. 66-point leaders with 5 in a row. And he unloads up forward where Menzel is loose at the 50. He marks, turns onto the left boot and kicks a lovely long goal.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio, online, and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Essendon by 60 at the final change. Adam Ramanauskas and Steve Johnson.
6 goals to 3 in that third quarter for the Bombers, and again, and I've harped on it all night, and I don't like doing this, but Essendon are just continually working harder. They're continually working harder at the contest, and they're winning those critical one-on-one footballs in that contest. The ball just seems to be spilling out and coming Essendon's way, but I say that, and then I look down at the clearances, and Carlton, it's +8 in Carlton's favour in clearances, but then on the other hand of that, it's +16 in Essendon's favour in inside 50s. So through the middle of the ground, I just feel, through the middle of the ground and towards the half back line is where Essendon have really dominated this game and been able to continually set up play. You look at the numbers of some of their defenders. Now Hibbert's had 21. I know he had 14 in that first quarter, but that's still big numbers for a defender. Jackson Merritt has really played as a true wingman tonight. He's had 28 possessions for this game, but he's continually he's been the one that I've felt tonight has been the one that spread the hardest. Once Essendon's won the ball, you see Merritt just get on his bike. He hasn't had a direct opponent all night. I watched him for 7 or 8 minutes of that quarter. I couldn't work out who was on him. I couldn't work it out. And the other critical part for me, and this is just work ethic. Work ethic on Essendon's behalf and lack of work ethic on Carlton's behalf. Essendon are +42 with uncontested marks. Now, you can't do that. Yeah, that's unforgivable in football.
The sample of Essendon doing that over the first couple of weeks means there's no excuse for it to be that much because they should have expected it. Unlike, say, North Melbourne.
Well, that's right. And the stats are clear. Essendon have had over 400 possessions in the first 2 rounds of the season. Carlton knew it was coming, but they can't do anything about it. And I think that's a fitness thing. Carlton just can't go with them. They can't run with Essendon. I said on a number of occasions, I'm watching Essendon players just run past Carlton players. And to me, that's lack of effort and lack of work ethic.
Yeah, I just seen Mark Murphy pull the Carlton players into a tight little huddle after Nick Malthouse had finished talking to him. I think he's saying, listen, boys, this is a big rival of ours. Our supporters can't turn up to work this week and listen to the Essendon supporters talking about giving them a 100-point drubbing. That would be unforgivable, Rama. They've really got to show something here for their supporters and the people who've come to the game.
Lucky the kids won't cop it at school because it's school holidays. They'll escape it.
Essendon by 60 points. Start of the final term on Grandstand AFL. Warnock wins the tap. Carlisle goes and gets the footy. Flings it onto his left boot. Rolls the Bombers up to half forward. Walker coming one way. Danaher. He just came charging through. Gathered the footy. Hand pass to Watson. Kick up to Goddard. He's 2 kicks out from goal. He'll wheel onto the right and send it right to the teeth of goal. Winderlick's his target. He and Yaron let it go by. Simpson on the tidy up. He's dragged out of play by Howlett. Martin Blake, the sub for Essendon.
Martin Gleeson's been activated, Jared. Kyle Hardingham had a little bit of calf issue earlier in the third quarter, has gone off.
Deep forward for Essendon. Warnock smashes it back towards the boundary. Takes a right-hand turn outside the 50. Merritt is onto it again. He pumps Essendon back inside the attacking area. Off hands, Melksham threatens. Can't quite get it. Tipped over by Walker. He's over the footy now and being tackled, and he'll be gone there, as he made no real effort to get it out from under him.
So Dale Thomas has the free kick, feeds a handball to Walker, who goes down towards Murphy, who marks in front of his eyes at left half back. Murphy coming up for disposal 18, and he's got to retreat and go back to the back pocket to Walker, who kicks to Dale Thomas. All important dream team points in his last term. Most people in Australia have got him in the team, and most people in Australia are wondering why they ever put him in the team. Everett now has a long kick, 65-metre kick towards the southern wing, and Warnock reaches up and takes the mark and handballs over the top to Jamison, who's got some open space ahead, kicks towards full forward and straight to Michael Hibbard, who wears an Essendon jumper.
He didn't read the play there, Jamison, and the way the formations were breaking. Kick to Heppel into the middle for Gleeson. Gets an early touch as the sub. He spreads it out to the right to his fellow youngster in Merritt. Up beyond halfway, Goddard's the target. He crashes into Everett to open up the space. Runs to the back. Murphy's after him. Goddard takes it. Takes the contact. Tries to get back to his feet. Instead gives the hand pass out the back. It didn't quite come off. Ashby got rolled over by Walker. Everett hand pass backwards. Very untidy. Didn't find Simpson. It's out of play. 45 from the Essendon goal.
Got a massive corky out of that contest, Mark Murphy, with Brendan Goddard.
And Hocking still stands alongside off this contest as it's thrown in. Warnock over the top, wins it down, taken by Zaharakis, immediately tackled. Ball now back in dispute. Comes out, it's close to the 50-metre line at the moment. Carazzo shovels out a handball straight to Merritt, who is off that pack. Handballs to Ashby, round the body, kicking towards full forward and going back with a flight. Easy mark to Melksham. Well, there's something going on behind the play there. I must say I didn't see it, but a lot of the crowd did. Now, that's quite nasty, it looks like. Tui and also Goddard there involved in quite a heated discussion. It's resulted in a 50-metre penalty for Melksham. So we'll just see Melksham just to make sure he puts it through over the man on the mark from the goal square. He does. So the first goal of the final term goes to Essendon. The score, 17-8-110 to Carlton, 6-8-44. Martin Blake, did you see what happened from down on the boundary?
Yes, I did, Whitey. Tui and Andrew Walker were wrestling, and Tui got sick of it, and he just pushed Walker very hard in the chest. But I think a few of the crowd just looked at it at that instant and thought he threw a punch, but it was just a hard push to the chest.
So 2 Carlton players.
Tui and Walker?
Sorry. Tui and Goddard.
Oh, sorry. We said that.
I gave one to Holland Smith last night.
Goddard coming to the bench after all of that. Okay, we're just seeing a replay of it now. Yeah, sort of Tui just pushing Goddard forcefully to the chest.
Can he grab at his face? Did he, Goddard?
I think he might have.
Warnock the tap down to Heppel, feeds it out the back to Hocking, who busts through the pack. Delivers Essendon inside the 50. Danaher sets himself. Rowe made the spoil. It's all about the recovery. Rowe gets onto it. He's hand passed it straight to Heppel, who had a little fumble. Feeds it out the side for Gleeson. Takes a flying shot at goal and misses near side. They're behind Essendon by 67 points.
Concern for Essendon tonight. Danaher's had the 10 possessions, but 0 shots at goal as their key forward. So a little bit of a concern that for me.
Gibbs marks the kicking and then goes long towards the southern wing. Offhand Zaharakis. Handballs to Stanton. Now to Watson. Front corner of the square. Kicks to full forward. Winderlick's got a bit of a break here. He takes it on the bounce. Handballs to Chapman. Here comes the snap. Here comes the goal. Chapman's got a hat-trick. 3 after half-time. And no doubt about that, he was going for goal. 5 minutes played, final term. Essendon 18-9, 117. Carlton 6-8-44, up to 73 points. We saw him kick a snap last Friday night, 9 days ago, and we thought that was going to be the winner. The game is obviously beyond doubt now, but that's still what he can do so well. Do you look at that and go, oh, well, yeah, that's pretty good, but that's what you should do? Or do you think that's a good goal? I'm talking to Steve Johnson here.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because I've seen that for 10 years. Chappie is a beautiful snap of the ball, and that's why I expected him earlier in the game to have a snapshot, because he just rarely misses.
He's kicked 8 goals in his 3 games for Essendon so far, 3 tonight. Battled for the ball in the middle. Curno's kick didn't go anywhere, and it might be for Gleeson to gather. He works the hand pass out the back to Zaharakis. Puts it to Bagley at centre half back. He missed his target, Howlett, but that's okay because Heppel is lurking over the top. He feeds it out the side to Stanton. Kicks up now for Danaher. Couldn't mark low down against Rowe. Walker gets in there to push it away and out of play.
So, Stevie, how many times did you practice that snap during the week at training?
We used to practice it a lot. I guess when you're practicing it, you've got to put yourself under pressure. And that's what I think a lot of players do, practice them at training, but you've got to put yourself in a game-like situation to actually improve and be able to do it when the pressure's on.
Out of half-back, the Blues win the battle for that stoppage. A kick from Gibbs. This player's running in all directions. Lucky there wasn't a collision there. Hooker lost the footy. Towed forward by Allard. Inside the 50. Gathered by Jamison, who turns his way out of trouble. Hand pass to Bell. Tries to get around and can't, although he does find a pocket of space. He wafts his left-footed goal and it comes up short. And Hibbard takes it off. Oh, there's a free kick in the goal square. Going to Menzel against Gleeson. So Essendon had a 2-on-1. But it's wasted with a bit of holding on. So the Blues to get their first goal.
And the free kick's probably there. Gleeson had hold of Menzel's arm, so free kick's there.
Grandma, I wouldn't mind asking, who's Troy Menzel's manager?
Menzel kicks his first behind as he rams it into the left-hand post, and suddenly his market value just pegged back a little bit. That's a bad miss from 10 metres out. They're down by 72.
Short kick in to Hurley, to Fletcher. I think back to the 2 times these clubs played last year, such dramatic matches, with some of the final plays of both matches determining the result. This is so different tonight. Bombers work it away from half back towards Gleeson, who takes a strong mark on the defensive southern wing with Thomas right there. Gleeson into the middle to Heppel. He marks, immediately handballs to Zaharakis. And the short spot-up kick to Melcham, back to Zaharakis, who kept running. Rushes a kick towards full forward. This time Chapman was caught behind. He applies a tackle, but he applies it poorly. It's a push in the back. And a free kick to Tui in the last line of defence for the Blues.
I can think back an extra year, Whitey, to that game late in 2012 when Carlton beat a wilting Essendon by 96 points under Brett Rattler, who still then got the sack. And Carlton mucked this up on the way out. And Chapman's got it again. He didn't carry the line this time, though. Walker gets 2 hands to it and pushes it through for a conceded score.
Yeah, it is amazing how quickly things have changed.
Essendon by 73.
As the kick back into play to Waite. And Waite goes down the line and Thomas eventually juggles the chest mark at right half back. And what's going to be really interesting is after the game is Mick Malthouse's press conference, because as Channel 7 does it now, they go live to the press conferences. It's going to be an event. Bell goes down the line, forward of the wing. Allard up for the Blues against Hibbard, and it goes over for a throw-in off hands.
He's had a lot of time to deal with the defeat because it's been obvious since the 10-minute mark of the first term.
I think he's been writing notes on what to say.
He should be on reasonable terms with it anyway.
Simpson, his kick was smothered, comes down to Watson, handballs to Hurley. He goes short to Zaharakis. Here they come again. Gleeson kicking over the top. Goddard, he can collect. No, he fumbles it. If he picked it up, he was in business, he would have kicked the goal. Instead, the Blues can collect it with Rowe. to Yaron, who breaks the tackle and cuts defensive 50.
He'll kick up beyond halfway. Ellard against Hibbard. Hibbard makes the spoil and Danaher is there for support. Hand passes it to Hibbard. Works it up beyond halfway. Stanton checks the kick off for Chapman. Right half forward. He's going to play it out wide for Stanton, who keeps running.
At the top of the square.
And that's where it goes. Goddard playing from behind. He sets himself. He marks at the back. Oh, he's been nailed for a push. Gee whiz, this year, 9 out of 10 of those go unchecked, but Rowe gets a lucky free kick.
I agree. Walker darts away, handballs to Bell, who again goes out to the southern wing. In front, juggling, taking a good mark was Waite. Short inboard kick to Murphy. Murphy runs along, gets past Chapman, and then kicks long towards half forward. Up high was Simpson, couldn't mark. At the front, Hocking collects for the Bombers. Handballs out to Gleeson. Now to Bagley, and he gives a little handball to Hooker. Now he'll go right across play from the southern side to the members' side to Stanton, who'll just chip it to Fletcher. He'll go back to Stanton. Stanton will get a lot of possessions in the last two, I reckon. He goes short to Carlisle.
Only 24 inside 50s for Carlton.
It's not a good kick coming forward from Carlisle. He was looking for Chapman, but it rolled away from him and out of play at the interchange gates. There's 47 inside 50s to 24. 18 goals to 6. Essendon by 73 points. Thrown in, centre wing. Zaharakis scraps for the ball with Curnow. Heppel pulls it clear. The pressure comes to him. He gives it to Melksham. Just tickled the kick up beyond halfway. Hocking gets hold of it. Hand pass to Stanton. Run down by Robinson. Gathered in the pack by Merritt. Out the back he goes for Melksham.
Essendon's got two players forward of the footy here.
Carlisle's kick was smothered though by Carazzo, so it'll come the other way. Up for Warnock, inside the 50. Waite sets himself, couldn't take the mark. Essendon have got loose numbers at the full. Clever little touch from Fletcher to send Hooker away. And out they come, Hibbard with a hand pass, just drifted away from Merritt, who lays a good tackle on Menzel. And it's a bit of a scramble out against the boundary. High tackle against Howlett, going to Carazzo.
So Carazzo, his first game of the year, is going on behind the play, but the umpire says, no, just play on. So he spirals the ball poorly inside the 50, and an easy defensive mark taken by Hooker. He'll go towards the southern side with a short pass to Bagley, and Bagley's kick is a good one, and Goddard marks. Still a defensive 50, chips it over the top to Myers. They've got runners streaming forward. Gleeson's one of them. Instead he goes short to Watson. He'll centre it up to Zaharakis, who's still defensive wing southern side. Again, they're racking up these short uncontested marks here. Short to Myers. They're still defensive wing. Up to 13 minutes in the final term. The margin's 73 points. Short to Hocking. So all these little 20-metre passes.
Well, they've forced Carlton to defend tonight, and Carlton just haven't been up to it. Essendon have just dominated with this short possession game. It's probably over possession, but they've been able to do it virtually unpressured for the entire game.
Hibbard goes long and wide towards Danaher out on the southern half-forward flank. That's been spoiled away from him by Rowe, and it's gone out of play.
Yeah, along with their willingness to run a little bit harder than the Carlton players, I think it's been their decision-making. They're just transitioning into defence a bit quicker, and also once they've been in defence and they win the ball back, they're quicker to make attacking decisions and run out and create space for each other.
Bomber Thompson's got himself a latte.
He has he?
Yeah.
The coffee scroll or a vanilla slice with it as well?
Nothing edible in sight to go with it, but just chugging on a latte late in the night. From the stoppage, Howlett dispossessed. He goes again and wins it back. Winkles out a kick up inside the 50. Oh, Rowe went back with a flight. He dropped the mark. The ball is loose. Rowe's going to tidy up his own mess. He hasn't. Winderlich threatens off the ground. He goes and he toes it through. Winderlich with his fourth. He high-fives the crowd on the way through. The lead builds to 79 points. 19-10, 124 Essendon to Carlton 6-9-45.
Well, simply it's the error from Rowe. There he drops the mark. Then he fumbles the ground ball. And Winderlich just a toe poke for the goal. It's just all too easy.
Mark Thompson's playing hide and seek in the back of the coach's box. He's getting sick and tired of the cameras on him. So he's gone to the back of the box and keeps poking his head out just to see if they're still watching him, which they are. It's quite funny, really. Back in the middle. Warnock wins the tap down, kicked off the ground by Watson towards centre half forward, and Melksham's marked it. He looks to play on. He kicks towards Danaher, who marks on his chest, coming out from full forward against Jamison, 45 metres out from goal. He moves like a midfielder, Joe Danaher, and he's 200 centimetres.
And it's only his second year of football, so look, it's very exciting. There's no doubt about it. It's very exciting for the Essendon Football Club to have a player that does play like this, and they're going to have him for, hopefully 15 years.
So his first really meaningful shot at goal, Joe Danaher, with a stuttering approach, will kick from right on the 50. He's hit this well. He's hit it very well. It's number 20. 2010, 130. Carlton 6-9-45, the margin out to 85 points, and we've still got half the final term to come.
This will sound strange, but that's an important kick for Danaher. He hasn't had a shot for goal all night, so that will give him great confidence that, okay, he's played on a really good defender all night, Michael Jamison, who's a very, very good defender. But, that would just give him some confidence. Last quarter, going into next week, a great defence against Fremantle. He needed to kick that goal, Joe.
Well, triple figures is now very much in the offing. There's still 8 minutes to play. Essendon's lead is 85 points. Danaher's gone into the middle for the tap. Robinson took the footy, gave it off to Bell. He broke his way through a tackle or two. Kicks up to half forward. Menzel's hand pass is smothered. Merritt is onto it. He gives it away to Ashby. Worked it off half back for Howlett. Lovely move this. Hocking gives it to Bagley. Inside the 50 for Chapman. You can't move the footy better than that.
It's all through the centre of the ground. Just attack through the centre. Just opens up the forward 50 and go either way. That was probably a missed kick there by Bagley, but Chapman just smart enough to know where the football's going to drop.
Slight angle to the right for Chapman. 45 metres from home. He's lining up at his fourth goal. Chapman. Beautiful. 4 second half goals for Chapman. And the Bombers have got a scent for a merciless killing. It's 91 points and growing. Chapman can raise the bat down on the boundary.
I'm starting to get the feeling that Chappie, every time he kicks a goal now, no matter whether he's been told to come off or not, he's coming off. I do the same. The crowd's loving him down here.
You give a wave, wouldn't you, John, over the crowd?
I'd run off and then I'd run off and then back on.
Bow?
Yep.
I think a bow is in order.
Go the Warren Treadray bow.
Yes. Oh, this is a fearful hiding.
And there's still plenty of time left as well. Danaher gets his own clearance and a bouncing footy towards half forward. Melksham off the ground. Now full forward. Watson's down there. He's caught behind. Tui takes it. Handball puts Robinson under pressure. Got a handball out to Bell. Now to Thomas. Thomas flicks a handball back over the top to Bell. He's cornered here. He gets away and gets a good kick on it. But it's only going as far as Bagley, who's another one that's having a great night for the Bombers. I know he's got a lot of mates, but Bagley a real breakout game as well.
He went back to Hurley and Garlett came over the mark, so it's a 50-metre penalty. There's a joyfulness in the way Essendon is rubbing this into Carlton. So up to half forward comes Hurley to take the kick. You watch the leads come out of the square. Goddard has gone deep. Oh, he tried the short pass and he didn't really find anybody. Walker gets hold of it for the Blues and he kicks it sideways. That'll be okay to Robinson. So a moment passes there. Sideways again from Robinson, back whence it came. Dale Thomas, cross half back. Tui flicks the hand pass to Everett, kicks around the southern wing for Curnow. He's got some room in which to move. He crosses halfway, then pulls up, drops it onto the right boot. Kick for half forward. Allard against Hibbard. Hibbard works his opponent under the ball, and the ball rolls away out of play. Martin Blake.
Jared, you mentioned the joyful atmosphere down here. Very few Carlton supporters left down here. I think there's a few on the way to the car.
Whatever the crowd peaked at, it's not that now. It's peaked at 62,730.
I shouldn't have changed my estimation, Jared. Heppel for the Bombers, kicks towards the southern wing. In fact, it actually pitches inside the centre square, and Jamison can get there first for the Blues. Very wide, sweeping handball on the bounce to Gibbs, who goes short, and he finds Bell. So Bell coming up for his 9th disposal since being activated. He kicks to the middle. I don't like the kick. He wants Buckley. Watson will come late. Buckley stands strong.
Really good mark.
Good mark. He had 2 Essendon players attacking him. He's able to stand strong and mark. Flares it out wide to Yaron. Yaron to the AFL logo to Tui, who dinks a handball over the top to Yaron again, who kicks to full forward. Good kick. And coming out and taking the mark is Henderson. Henderson has only had 6 disposals. That we just let that be silence for a minute, just to show you listen to the crowd. Not many Carlton fans left to see this kick from Henderson. He lays into it very well. It's close. And I reckon it's a goal. It is. So, a goal to the Blues to Henderson. Margin back to 85 points Essendon's way. Essendon 21-10-136, Carlton 7-9-51. Fletcher was believing that should have been a bit of a goal review situation, but I dare say that it wouldn't have helped even if it went to review.
No, your eyes are as good as any camera they've got. So.
Well, from this position, there'd be no angle on the goal.
I know, the moon shot would have been interesting, though. 85 points, Carlton's first goal of the final term at the 22-minute mark of it. 21-10 to 7-9. Security out to ring the boundary, so we're in the final 5 minutes. Heppel took it in the middle, dragged down to the tackle of Carazzo, spills the way of Gleeson for the Bombers. Hand pass to Zaharakis, had a fumble, got it back, gives it off. Gleeson will go again. He's got good numbers in the middle. Hocking coming through, spreads it out now for Merritt. Merritt forward of the ball he goes. Milcham. Absolutely sure where he's going until Heppel presents for him and answers the question up at half forward. Heppel will take his chances, landing at the hot spot. Watson was on the lead, didn't mark. Winderlick at ground level, dragged down in a tackle. The ball spills loose. Gibbs goes off the ground. He kicked it straight to Hocking. Had a good wall set up, Essendon, and Hocking does find Watson this time. He stayed inside the 50 and he takes the mark. Bomber fans see their skipper with the ball. Give himself the big wind-up Atkins. Hasn't kicked a goal tonight. A couple in the previous 2 matches. Jobe Watson from long range. Spins the ball on his approach. As he got this in him on last quarter legs from 51 metres. It's online. It didn't get there. It was touched by Warnock before it went through. That's a behind. The margin is 86 points.
Kicking's a little dicey, but it'll end up being okay. With Walker linking up with Robinson. And Robinson's kick to Thomas, who marks. Robinson kept running. Here from the members' wing, kicks towards half forward. Allard there with Hibbard. And it's gone out of play. Since Ellard went to Hibbard, he's certainly made a big impact in that situation because Hibbard's only had 25. When I say only 25, he had 14 in the first quarter. And Ellard's actually kicked a couple of goals as well. 50 metres out from Carlton's goal. In front of the northern stand, thrown in. One down by Warnock. Bell runs onto the footy. He's in trouble. Watson came late with the tackle. It affected the kick. Off hands in the pocket. Murphy gets away from Fletcher. Handballs it to Menzel. Menzel handballs it further on. Thomas, clever knock to Murphy, who kept running. And that is Carlton's best play of the night. It's all, well, it doesn't matter, does it really? But that was pretty special. And Essendon's lead cut to 80 points. Essendon 21-11, 137. Carlton 8-9, 57.
That was a brilliant goal assist there from Darryl Thomas, to have the composure just to flick it out to Murphy. Good vision, beautiful execution of a knock-on. Just sent Murphy into space to kick his first of the night.
There wasn't much joy in it, which is a pity. At the end of such an instinctive play. So only a couple of minutes to play in this encounter. Warnock knocks it underfoot. There are pack forms, and we'll go through the process again. Watson's now come to the bench. Surely to see out the last couple of minutes there. Robinson gets the ball from the middle, from Carazzo. He kicks inside the 50. He's carried his attackers though. And Hibbard camp back takes the mark. Out across the face of goal for Fletcher. Hurley's running forward for him. No one tending the mark. Lovely kick for Stanton. He will use Hurley on the way out. Right half back. Chips it for Chapman. Tumbles into the mark. Soak up the extra moments as he goes back. And uses it sideways for Ashby. On debut, this is disposal number 12. And he goes backward to Hibbard. Out the far side now with Zaharakis making the space. He lays it off for Bagley, who leads up. All of this backward of the defensive 50. Everything's been called to play on. They're reasonably well marked, but not incredibly tightly. Although Zaharakis dropped the mark, it forces a little bit of instinctive play. He gathers, he scrubs his kick around the wing. Gleeson goes off the ground and then resumes the chase. He'll go up at it with Bell. Bell gets there first. Gleeson slides into them. Lays the tackle. He's got a good claim for holding the ball, and he'll get it.
So maybe one last chance for the Bombers, with Gleeson the sub to take possession on the southern wing. He kicks up towards Goddard, who's at centre half forward, and marks comfortably as Curnow couldn't get there in time.
Sorry, not bad for Gleeson. He's had 10 possessions in this quarter. So he only came on at the start of this last quarter, so definitely had an impact.
Brendan Goddard has kicked 2. Is for his third from outside the 50. Hits it a little bit to the left, and it is only a behind, so that will be the last score of the night, I reckon. Essendon 21-12, 138. Carlton 8-9, 57. We played 28 minutes in the final term.
He's left a few out there, Goddard, tonight, in the way that he's played. It's a torpedo out of fullback from Tui, which had good carriage, but it's a beautiful one-handed mark in the middle of the ground by Hooker. He spreads out for Myers. Myers could turn and give Danaher a late shot at things. By the time he marks, he's outside the 50, and that would be beyond his range. It ends, and as powerful a performance as that was for Essendon, is a sorry state of affairs for Carlton. The rot set in the earlier stages, and they have been handed a fearful hiding by a hated rival. Essendon by 81 points over the Blues.
They all try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly up.
21-12, 138 Essendon, thrashing Carlton 8-9-57. It was 36 points at quarter time. The Bombers kicked the first 7 goals of the game in total. 44 points at the half, 60 at three-quarter time, and 5 goals to 2 in the final stanza to deliver that margin of 81 points. It's happened in front of 62,730. 2 teams going in dramatically different directions.
Up to win the premiership flag. Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, up. The other teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly up.
Winderlick kicked 4 each. 3 for Stanton and Hardingham, 2 for Goddard, and singles to Danaher, Melksham, Heppel, Carlisle and Hocking. For Carlton, 2 for Menzel and 1 each to Murphy, Henderson, Garlett, Toohey, and 2 for Ellard down the bottom of the page. So the multiples there, 2 each for Menzel and Ellard. Essendon by 81 points. The Madden Cup to be presented to the Bombers. And Paul Chapman being congratulated down at ground level. He does the TV interview. Well, Rammer and Stevie J, that was quite awesome from Essendon and diabolical for Carlton.
Oh, look, yeah, it was. It was ruthless in the end by Essendon. They've kicked, what did they kick? They've kicked 11 goals, 10 goals in the first half, 11 goals in the second half. But I think just the way and the ease they were able to play the game tonight, only allowing the 29 inside 50s to Carlton, I think will be the most important stat of the night for Essendon. So that to me shows, well, okay, we've got the game to possess the football and be, at times pretty cute with it and try to get as many uncontested marks as we possibly can. But if we do turn the football over, we have the ability to apply enormous pressure. And I think when they have their review tomorrow, that will be the most pleasing thing. And there's one particular instance in the game that stands out, and that's the tackle of Joe Watson, basically in the centre of the ground, where I think it was Carazzo that he chased down and was able to apply that tackle, and then kick the football onto Carlisle, who kicks a goal. So that to me, I think what's impressed me the most about the Bombers tonight. With the Blues, well, geez, I'm not sure where they go from here, Jared. It's an awful long way back for that club, who I guess have had expectations of playing finals football, but at the moment, as it stands, they are just miles away, absolute miles away.
Yes, that's going to be the talking point out of the night. For as good as Essendon was, you just know the heat is coming for Carlton. It'll be a fearful day tomorrow. Let's join the presentation at ground level.
10 games for both of these fantastic clubs. It's awarded to the winning club on this occasion. That is the Essendon Football Club. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome dual premiership player Simon Madden to present the Madden Cup to Essendon's captain, Joe Watson.
Just quickly, just from the Essendon Football Club, just to the supporters of the Essendon Football Club and the Carlton Football Club. I know it's Sunday night, but thank you all very much for coming out. Hope you enjoyed the game, and we'll see you throughout the year. Thank you.
So Joe Watson there after an 81-point win for Carlton. What will you take from this, Steve?
Well, Essendon looked impressive, didn't they? I think Rama touched on it. They were just defensively how good they were, how well structured they looked and organised, and their skills stood out. They used the ball really well early, and Carlton just couldn't shut them down. But what I was impressed about was just how quick they were to get back in transition to help their defenders out, who were able to bring the ball down the ground a lot, and then slingshot the ball back into their forward 50 with ease. And if you've got the skills like they have, and you can match it with the pressure, you're going to be a very hard side to beat. Carlton, on the other hand, they had 6 players have less than 10 possessions, and we've seen Gleeson come on. He had 10 possessions in that last quarter. I know he was part of a side that was running over the top of their opposition, but it just goes to show if you're willing to put in the hard yards, you can get on the end of the ball. And I don't think that Carlton would be wrapped with their effort early on in the game. I know they tried to use the ball around the perimeter a lot, and they weren't prepared to kick it to a contest. Through that second and third quarter, I thought they'd done that a little bit better and kicked a couple of goals on the back of it. But all in all, it was as bad a performance as it was for Carlton. It was equally impressive of Essendon.
So we'll spend a lot of time with Essendon, obviously, in the aftermath here. There's been a note around Carlton. They're just plain ordinary. But tonight they actually look worse than ordinary. They actually look like quite a poor team tonight.
Yeah, they looked definitely like a bottom 4 team tonight, which is actually quite sad, because I think, you know, the internal expectation has been quite high that this team can actually go somewhere and be very competitive, but tonight it just wasn't there tonight. I was watching it, and I continued to ask for it. I continued to ask for pressure, because I was watching Essendon just continually rack up these uncontested possessions all night, and really have too much time to make a decision. Football now, it's all about pressure. The game last night, Geelong and Collingwood, that was just a high-pressure encounter. Every time somebody had the football, someone will be there in an instant. Tonight, when Essendon got the football, they just had time and space to make a decision whenever they felt like it. Usually, it's a split second you've got to make a decision, but tonight, they flicked the football around. They went backwards, sideways, any which way to get the football forward. And I always felt it was going to be a difficult night moving the ball forward for Essendon, but they did it easy in the end. They had 10 goal kickers. A lot of their medium-sized players really come to the fore and dominated as forward players.
I said before the game that I was looking forward to seeing how Carlton responds, because I felt that their season was on the line tonight. But you could tell after 10 minutes the energy levels just weren't there. The intensity wasn't there in Carlton, which is the thing that probably surprised me more than anything.
Oh, look, and that was evident through the uncontested marks in that first quarter. You could see, like I just said before, the ease of how Essendon were just gaining possessions. They had 125 possessions in the first quarter, and the alarm bells would have had to have been ringing. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the Carlton rooms at the moment, and just to listen to what Mick would have to say to that team, because that's absolutely not the way Mick coaches. And we've watched Collingwood over the years. They've been a high-pressure team. They're in your face team, but nothing from Carlton tonight. Absolutely nothing.
Righto, let's revel with Essendon in this 81-point winners Sunday night footy over Carlton, which will make it doubly sweet when we head in and join Martin Blake.
Yes, Jared, some Essendon legends in this room. I can see Tim Watson, Roger Merritt, Simon Madden standing 1, 2, 3 over the other side of the room. Another interesting one, David Evans, former chairman who stepped down at the height of the Asada situation. He's here tonight. Here's the song. Heath Hocking's in the middle because he's playing his 100th game. And young Ashby. I think it's always a sweet win over Carlton for Essendon, Jared. We'll be back soon with Jackson Merritt, I believe. They're going to go and have a team meeting, and we'll be back.
Terrific. 21-12, 138 over Carlton, 8-9-57.